No, for the suffering of other people. Have you no sense of purpose?
Okay. Have you no empathy, man? You know, I just, like, what is happening here?
I love you back.
I love you back. Hear the black scent.
You may not be a union member. You better thank a union member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
You better thank. I don't know how to say better anymore. You better thank. Okay? You better thank a union worker. When you see a union worker, you better thank.
Spanish, Haitian, Indian, Jamaican, black, white, Cuban, or Asian.
Grandma Barrel, Miss Barrel, personally. Take a listen.
I see Vice President Harris on the box. And I sit up straight and I think, my God, she looks so much like Miss Beryl.
Yeah. Miss Beryl, because Kamala is very fair-skinned.
Right.
Was Beryl fair-skinned?
Yes, she was.
She was.
She's very fair-skinned. For me, I would say there was something Irish there. Okay. Nah, that's not Miss Beryl.
That's not Miss Beryl.
That's definitely not Miss Beryl.
There's another person, but could that be Miss Beryl?
No, that's not
That's
Miss
not
Beryl.
Miss Beryl
That's
either.
not Miss Beryl either.
This woman put on blackface because she wants to win the election.
I don't believe you people.
Huh? What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?
Huh?
Your discrepancy. Mainly that her grandmother, who she produced a photo of herself with, happened to die before Kamala was born. So yeah, seems a little odd. Just asking questions here. Well, today we were able to secure the birth certificates and the death certificates and some marriage certificates, which confirm that Kamala either made a huge mistake, all by accident, or she outright lied because she wanted to convince the public that she was black.
Okay, let's talk about Janet Jackson's escapade. And no, not the song. When the singer was asked about the prospect of America electing a black woman president, she said of Harris, quote, "Well, you know what they supposedly said? She's not black." That's what I heard, that she's Indian. Her father's white. That's what I was told. I was told that they discovered her father was white. Yeah, that's not true. But those words do echo Trump saying that Harris magically turned black. And yet it gets worse. When Jackson was later pressed whether she thinks America is prepared to see Harris in office, she said, "I think either way it goes is going to be mayhem." Either way. Jackson's comments generated outrage online until a credited producer on her upcoming documentary walked it back. Before that person was seemingly fired, leaving it unclear whether Ms. Jackson still believes that Kamala Harris isn't black and really is willing to tell her billions of fans that there's no difference between Harris and Trump. It's a weird sequence of events, but Jackson is not alone. There's a host of celebrities who have made bizarre comments in actual support of Trump, who has long depended on endorsements from celebrities and Manoverse influencers, mostly because reputable experts and political figures have largely abandoned him. Still, the reality is that all campaigns want celebrity endorsements. Analysis from Harvard University's Ash Center shows it works. And it's, quote, incredibly powerful when centered around calls to action like registering voters or poll worker signups. And it is worth noting for those counting, when it comes to celebrities, VP Harris has a massive list. And it's really a list, up to and including Oprah, who might be the biggest endorsement get of all. Trump, on the other hand, has a C list, although he
nastier than even Pocahontas.
President Trump has referred to you as nasty.
Give me a beat!
thoughts. I better be a gentleman or you turn me off. That's right, let me tell it, nasty boys, I don't mean a thing. Oh, you nasty boys, nasty boys, I don't ever change. Oh, you nasty boys, I don't like no nasty girl, I don't like a nasty food. Yeah. The only nasty thing I like is a nasty groove. Will this one do? I know. Say nasty boys. I don't mean a thing. Oh, you nasty boys, nasty boys. I don't ever change. Oh, you nasty boys, nasty boys. Give me a nasty groove. Oh, you nasty boys, nasty boys. Let me see your nasty biting groove.
That we ain't Night Riders. That we ain't Night Riders.
Welcome to the Knight Riders SQUADCAST live stream. You are now rolling with the Knight Riders.
Once again, it's on. Yeah, we in the building. Damn, y'all in here early today. Man, y'all really want to see this one. Salute. All right. Got my man Iman Perry in the building. Salute. Commando Spawn in the building. What else we got, man? Y'all in here going in. Israel Young Lion. Salute, bro, in the building. King Seeing Red in the building. A few other people hanging out in the back. Salute to everyone. And once again, I'd like to invite you all to another exciting episode of the Knight Riders Squadcast. And, you know, we got off to a little of a late start. As you know, we really like being punctual around these parts. However, had a few technical difficulties, but as per usual, we were able to work it out and get things cracking. So we're going to get right into this. I know you guys are excited. Coming in heavy and active, so that's cool. We're going to go in. You know how we do. So yeah, we got some good things lined up here. Oh, you know what? I got to make a slight correction. As you know, last week I unveiled a workable and practical and pragmatic standard with regard to defining who is black. And let's be clear, as I mentioned, this is not something that I expect to be implemented at this point in time, but this is a strategic move, meaning that there are certain things that are going to happen first, and this is just telling you what's to come. And because these type of standards were not implemented, you see all the foolery and fuckery that's going on right now, not the least of which grifters like Kamala and the like. But I have a slight correction to make, and I'm going to share that with you, because those of you who saw last week's broadcast, you do realize that I said that you have the black by birth standard is an 80% rule, 2 by 2, 2 black parents, 2 black grandparents. What I meant to say is actually 2 by 4. So just think of like the big stick, the 2 by 4. So in real time, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can correct that here, because over here we like to be precise, and I did misspeak. So let's not make the good or the great the enemy of the perfect. We all kind of make mistakes here, so we're going to change this in real time. So 2 by 4. So let me go ahead and relaunch that for you. So there we go. Oh, you know what? Still not complete. I got to change the other side, which is 4 black grandparents. So let me go ahead and put that here. So there you go. So black by birth standard, 80% rule, 2 by 4, 2 black parents, 2 or 4 black grandparents. So, and this discussion tonight is going to illustrate why this standard is so important, and why, because it has not been implemented, the reason why you have all the confusion that's going on right now. Ivan Perry said Manoverse. Yeah, she's crazy for that one. Yeah, but you know what? We're going to get right into it, because this is a very serious discussion, although, we're going to have a little fun as well. But we're going to show you guys just what the issue is when it comes to black people not having a standard, and the reason why you can get so many grifters such as Kamami or Camellia, whatever her name is, Kamala the Chameleon. So we're going to go hard and heavy in this, and what we're going to do is review a video from all people, Candace Owens. You know what? I mean Candace Owens. I'm going to try to be a bit more respectful to her, only because I do respect the diligence and the research that she did to actually pull out some of the things that she did. Because I try to give people credit where it's due. And she did pull out a very remarkable bit of information. And far be it from me to kind of dismiss research, because we are very resource oriented over here. However, let's be very clear. And shout out to my bro TD Media, because he made a video where he said, well, okay, you guys are talking about Candace, but now I guess she's invited back to the cookout because of these revelations that you put out about Kamala. Well, to the contrary, and with all due respect to my fellow Chi-Town bro TD Media, I believe he lives in California now, but he no, she's still not invited to the cookout. She just, she's just allowed to come and dip through for a minute, drop off a plate. And we appreciate the dish that she brought to the cookout, but she has to get back over to the other side where she's aligned. So, just to make it clear. But we do respect what she put in. And I am going to go in on what she presented, and we're going to dissect it the way we do over here. So let's go ahead and cue up the first video. You may have seen the intro, and we put just a few clips together showing the events as they unfolded, because what actually happened was that Janet Jackson made her statements that she thought Kamala was white and so forth, and to which all of the DNC got his pennies in a bunch, and they came for Janet. But like Candace said, they came for Janet, but Candace answered the door. So she was the one that took it upon herself, because she's a big fan of the Jacksons apparently, and she really loves Janet Jackson. So she took it upon herself to become a one-woman research institute and pull up all this information about Kamala. And we showed the sequence of events, and you had one Joy Reid trying to dismiss Janet Jackson and so forth. And we showed that there were clips of Kamala, or Candace, I should say. I guess I get them confused because they're both, outside of the, getting the invitation to the cookout as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, we show the fact that she has pulled out this evidence that this facade that Kamala has been pulling for quite some time with regard to her heritage is pretty astonishing. And we showed in a comical way the fact that Donald Trump said that she was nasty, and we kind of took that into the Janet Jackson song "Nasty." So those of you who get it, you get it. But what I'm going to do now is we're going to cue up the first video that we're going to be reviewing here, and this was the one to me that put the nail in the coffin. I don't know if you guys have been following this whole thing since its inception and what Candace had been pulling out, but this particular video that I'm going to start with is what to me kind of put the nail in the coffin. But we're going to kind of go through it, and you guys are welcome to chime in, and we're going to go deep on this particular subject. So let me go ahead and cue that up for you. So let's get it. And then later on, after we're done reviewing this, we're going to go into some solutions, because I want you to understand that this is kind of an extension of the classic episode 3 Revenge of the Sis that we did, because we did on the tail end of that video, we did talk about this already, but we did only a very small snippet, because the bulk of that was dealing with the expose of another quote Exotical, i.e. Exoticals United. So we spent the bulk of that episode 3 talking about that, but we did touch on this, and I wanted to give more flesh to this particular subject. That's the reason why I wanted to have this particular episode, because actually I was going to do the analytics episode regarding what the Knight Riders are all about, and being a Sigma male and so forth, and that's still going to be forthcoming, so you want to stay tuned for that. But I definitely want to hit on this point. So let me go ahead and load this up for you guys so that we can go in and let's see, which one is it? I think it's that one episode. Okay, so I believe this is the one, because there's two that I want to kind of skim through. I think this is the one we're going to deal with and pull it up. Yeah, we need
staunch commitment to the defense.
Let me see.
To say here, other than I humbly submit myself for your.
All right, let's get it.
Well, I am not quite sure what to say here, other than I humbly submit myself for your consideration to receive a Pulitzer Prize, maybe Time Person of the Year, a Golden Globe, a Grammy, something. I deserve something for my staunch commitment to the defense of Janet Jackson.
I just seen that Casey and Red. Whose potato salad has raisins? Do you mean Candace's or Kamala's? Because I think both of theirs have raisins personally, but if you care to clarify, that would be great.
Because guess what has happened? And by the way, this is not even unbelievable. It's actually the most believable thing in the world. A Jamaican woman has stepped forward who I can verify to you knew Kamala's grandma Beryl. And she remembers her affectionately, by the way. Apparently, Grandma Beryl was a wonderful
Tab, man. I ain't heard that in a long time. Yeah, you could just tell she's a tab gal.
Wonderful woman. She adored Kamala's Grandma Beryl. It was just one minor detail that was off. You see, the Beryl that she knew, the one that Kamala presented in her book, was not her, because the Beryl she knew was white. Yeah, let's get started. Welcome back to Candace.
Yeah, so again, guys, I don't know how deep you were on following this, but in Candace's, well, not Candace, Kamala's book, she pretty much had this woman right here presented as her paternal grandmother, right? So what Candace has actually managed to do is to totally debunk this picture, because she has a woman that's an eyewitness account who knew her actual grandmother, and she's going to flat out say that this is not her, because her actual grandmother is a light-skinned, very light, almost, probably white passing woman. So it gets pretty thick. So we're gonna have some fun with this, because this is crazy. But let's go.
In this photo, I'm not thinking this is a very dark woman. I'm not thinking this is the mother of Donald Harris at all. Like, I know genetics can be funky, but I was going, this woman does not look like she owned and operated a store. There were so many things that were throwing me off. Even the whole story of the grandparents owning all of these stores. I'm going, what are you talking about? 1914 to 1938 in Jamaica, but we were just getting out of slave chains, and you're telling me like your family just became like so dominant and we're running these dry goods stores, and this grandma had that. Something was off, okay? And what was off was just the photos they were presenting. These people were too black. And then once we started looking into it, the fact that her campaign just shut off the tap on speaking about her blackness. They just wanted to move on, as if she had never said it. It was the entire brand. Remember, that's the pitch. She's going to be the first black female president of the United States. The media was trying to sell that, to force feed that to us. And I said, Black scientific theory says, no, this ain't your grandma. But I was receiving a ton of emails from people that were insisting that Beryl was Kamala's grandmother. Among the emails were a flurry of people suggesting that I speak to a woman known as Lady Colin Campbell. She also goes as Lady C. I'm familiar with her work. I've seen her. She's written in the Daily Mail before, or has been written about in the Daily Mail. She's a British Jamaican author and a socialite who grew up in Jamaica. And she is deep on genealogy. She's written several books regarding the British royals. This woman likes history. She likes facts. And someone had sent me a clip of her from her YouTube channel during which she was fielding questions, and people were asking her to look into my research into Kamala Harris. And she said, rather offhandedly, that she had asked around and that she had a friend that was on the island who had confirmed to her.
Kingsley and Red, no. To answer your question, I believe your people are from the Caribbean. And I'm going to go into something with regard to that. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to say this here briefly. Now, with this whole, what is the ADOS stuff or the FBA stuff, the reason why, and I understand the necessity, right, to have a lineage-based identity, because, I believe with the ADOS, they were trying to make that more or less kind of like an organization. It was, in some parts, a lineage, but structurally where they made their mistake was to form it or frame it as an organization, right, with different chapters and so forth. To which Tariq Nasheed came with the FBA, which he kind of just identified it as a lineage, which I believe is a better option in terms of dealing with identity. Although there are some fundamental differences that I have with that particular thing. I'm not going to go into depth with it right now because it's a whole different subject. But the flaw in it, when you start dealing with the FBA, and he seems to try to conflate the heritage that was came over from Africa to this allegedly an indigenous heritage of black people that were presumably already in America. Now, that's not to say that there were not black indigenous people already in America. However, the problem with that is that there was not a significant amount of people who would be considered black in the Americas, considering the amount of people who were imported. If you had so many black people already in America, it would have been cost prohibitive to be able to import so many Africans. And that's why when people take DNA tests, for example, it goes back to the continent. So one of the issues I have with FBA is that there's this overemphasis on how many black people were actually in the Americas prior to the slave trade, and they underrepresent the amount of people who were imported, which to me is negligent, because you're dismissing the pain and suffering of those people who had to endure the transatlantic slave trade, to which many, if not most of us, are descended from. So, and then with my black by birth and 2x4 standard, meaning you're born with 80% and you have 2 black parents, 4 black grandparents, it's more precise as opposed to just saying using the FBA standard, which if somebody has a whole nother white parent, are they FBA? I know there's some confliction with depending on people's personal choices or what have you, there may be some conflict in terms of who could be considered FBA, even if their lineage goes back up into Europe's, or somewhere else, like Kamala's, for example. It gets kind of weird. But again, that may be a subject for another video. But I just wanted to address it since you mentioned FBA. But let's get it.
That Beryl was, in fact, Kamala's grandmother, seemingly putting to rest all of my theories. But I remained completely undeterred, and I just ignored it. Lady C said that she was hoping to host that friend on her podcast in the future, and that the woman would spill all of the tea on how she knew Kamala's grandmother, Beryl. So I just waited. I waited for the future to arrive, and guess what? The future has arrived. And as promised,
and this is fair use for educational purposes, by the way, fair use.
Lady C hosted Dorothy, that's the woman's name, Dorothy, the woman who knew Grandma Beryl. And I will tell you, the conversation did not go as Lady C expected. I think primarily because people who did not watch every episode of this series into Kamala were not quite understanding what we were uncovering. There were all of these people making response videos. I was going, you clearly did not watch everything that we're doing. We never said that Beryl did not exist. We always believed that Beryl existed. We simply did not believe that the woman that was presented in Kamala's book was her. We believed that this was a case of stolen identity. Essentially, there was a Beryl, but the woman that was being pictured was not the grandma, and they were playing funny business like commies do, switching identities. And it was strange that even though Kamala presented a picture of Grandma Beryl in the book, she didn't mention her at all in the book. What's up with that? You're just trying to blackify yourself. But Lady C likes research. Lady C was...
And let me just say this real quick. She said she was trying to blackify herself. Now, the reason why that was even possible is because you had a bunch of Negroes who would sit up there, let this woman come around them, not checking her background. She went to Howard, and I'm sure she was into all these sororities and so forth, able to, get with people like Willie Brown, and he just, accepted her as a light-skinned sister or whatever that he was busting down. See, the problem with this whole thing is that she should not have ever gotten as far as she did without people checking her paperwork or having a standard already in place. Because when you have a standard in place, nobody could just come on in and be a part of it. Let me give you a quick example. It's just like the reason why someone who has a royal lineage, or just say there's a royal family, right? you can't just come across a royal family and try to inject yourself into that particular situation. They want to know your pedigree, who are you related to, what's your lineage, going back several generations. That's how things are done. And for all the talk that Black people have regarding their kings and queens, and to some extent there's some truth to it, because there's a lot of us who may be descended from kings and queens and so forth. Okay, fine. Then why didn't you have a standard that would vet or somehow be able to qualify people before they could just drift themselves into your situation? That's the whole problem. So a Kamala or Rachel Dolezal or whoever the hell decides they want to grift into your situation, there should already be standards in place by which they can't do it, especially if you're going to give these people privileges and positions of power and preference, and you don't have any way of vetting them. It's like having a door wide open and you're wondering why people keep coming in stealing your stuff. So it's pretty ridiculous, but let's get it.
Good on her word. She hosted Dorothy. So let's watch the first part of their conversation. This is Dorothy, again, the Jamaican woman who grew up and knew Grandma Beryl, Miss Beryl, personally. Take a listen.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. We have...
That's a good point. See, that's why Kingsley and Red, we have to create the standard, because someone like Candace, we're going to get into it a little bit later, because when we start talking about solutions, after we get through dissecting this whole thing, I'm going to get into that about people like Candace and others. So we're going to break it down. So just sit tight.
A special guest with us today, Dorothy Otti, who is...
Charles Zulu says most actually did just accept it. Yeah, exactly.
An old friend of mine. She's Jamaican, and she used to know Miss Beryl.
You know what, Kingsley and Red, you raise an interesting point. The fact that they, have a standard that would be able to include someone who looks like Kamala is also a problem, because part of this has to be phenotype. Kamala can only pass for a Black person once you stretch the standard beyond what a typical Black person looks like, brown to black skin, 4C hair, so forth. So when you stretch the definition to include a standard that would include someone with her phenotype who's light, bright, damn near white, even though genetically, if she took a test, she's probably 80% non-Black or something, that's the problem. So the fact that they think she looks like them is part of the problem as well. But anyway, let's get it.
Very well. They grew up in the same village.
Well, I grew up in the village where Miss Beryl lived. She was a lot older than me, of course. And Miss Beryl is the grandmother of Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And she was just the most delightful lady. I have such fun memories of her. Excuse me. So there's...
Well, it's like that bypass Kamala, but let's get it.
There's a sweet that you have in Jamaica as a child, or grown-ups eat this sweet that's made from coconuts and caramelized sugar, and it's called a buster. Have you ever had?
Darling, in my day it was called Bustamante Backbone.
Okay, so it was called a buster. And Miss Beryl had a shop. And in the mornings, my Uncle Cecil would take me by the hand. We'd go up the road for a walk. And
yeah, you're talking about that. The one who looks damn near white. I mean, she never even, I forget her name, but she pretty much, I don't even think prior that they were even identifying with her as Black, but I know who you're talking about. But that, again, that's the point. Yeah, there's so many, it's such a moving scale or sliding scale, or they're always moving the goalpost in terms of what the phenotype for Black is, much less, talking genetics. So that's the reason why you have this problem, which again, when you implement our 80% rule, 2 by 4, 2 Black parents, 4 Black grandparents, then that gives you a more specific phenotype as well. And at the very least, if someone comes in looking different, then you can pretty much assume or presume that, they may have admixture that goes beyond that. And so therefore yielding them to not be Black. But anyway, that's a whole nother level. But let's go.
And on the way, everyone that goes past, it would be, good morning, Miss Cecil, and how are you, Miss Dar? And by the time we got to Miss Beryl's shop, she would either offer me a Buster or this other delicious sweet called a Paradise Plum.
Yes, I remember Paradise.
Yeah, but Miss Beryl, she was just so lovely.
Yeah, exactly, Shadow. She's only black for the election. It's just like that plan that she put together for you Negroes about, you know, only for black men. Come to find out it was for everybody. You know, she just kind of titled it that when she decided she was going to pander to you a little bit more. So as soon as, you know, the jig is up about that, even if there was something to it, which it was not, she wasn't going to, you know, she wasn't going to make good on any of that stuff. So yeah, it's all politics. But let's go.
We would have these conversations as a little girl whenever I you know, went past with Uncle Cecil, and it was always, how are you doing with your books? Are you reading? Are you learning your times table? Of course, she was a businesswoman, so she was very good at things like mathematics, of course. And she was, looking back now, you could see she was a trailblazer. Because the shop that she had, she actually built it herself. And so we lived in a village, and her shop was the only what you would call an upstairs, downstairs house. All the other houses were like bungalows on one level with gardens and stuff. I remember in our garden, we had gladiolas.
Okay, a couple of things flagged to me as interesting there. So she was really good at mathematics. Okay, so we're talking about a black person. Again, this would not have been more than a couple of decades removed from slavery. And she was really good at mathematics, extremely well read, owned and operated a shop, and had the biggest house. I mean, what are we talking about? This doesn't feel like the correct kind of a black story that I'm used to. A couple of generations ago, you go back, most black people have my grandparents' sharecropping farm. I mean, maybe, you know, who knows? I'm like, okay. Very clearly, though, we know she's telling the truth right away, because this is a good fact check against what Donald Harris wrote when he wrote a story about their Jamaican heritage for Jamaican Online Global. And he talked about those bustas. He talked about him and his sister Enid and how they loved the bustas. I think he said it was around Easter time. So everything she's saying sounds correct. But it was this part, this next part, that instantly let me know that this woman was the real deal, because she presents a detail, something that I know to be a fact that I had not ever presented to the public. Remember when I told you that I got on the phone with a family member of Kamala Harris? And that family member told me that Donald Harris had two siblings, Enid Harris, who I have spoken to you guys about, and another sibling who I had never mentioned, was Beryl's son, and his name was Kenneth. And this woman starts speaking about the Kenneth that I had never mentioned, who would be Donald Harris's brother. Take a listen.
Was it a village or was it a hamlet? How many people would have been in it? How many houses? How many residents?
So at one time, everyone that lived there, was a village. There was probably about 80 or 90 people. But at one time, everyone that lived there was a relative of mine.
Really?
Yes.
What about Miss Beryl?
So this would have been before people such as Miss Beryl moved there. But before that.
Now that's the first clue that phenotypically this actual Miss Beryl, who was Kamala's real grandmother, did not look like the other people. Because you notice she said people such as her. So apparently, you know, this was a little black town that she was personally related to most people. And to be honest, you know, I can relate to that because there's certain towns in like Alabama that's, you know, where my father's side is from. There's a particular town in northern Alabama that I'm damn near related to everybody in that town. It's crazy. You throw a rock, you're going to hit one of my relatives in one of these little small towns near Decatur, Alabama. But to me, that was the first clue that indicated that this woman that Kamala presented in her book as our grandmother was not the real deal. But let's go.
Everyone who lived there And even as a child growing up, most of the residents were connected in some way on my father's side, my grandfather's side, where they were all related. But Miss Beryl, my darling, also had a son. He was called Kenneth, and Kenneth had a motorbike, the equivalent of what we would now call a Harley Davidson. And of course, so at the time I would have been no more than 4 or 5. I'm not interested in what make your bike is. And he would put me on the front of the bike, whenever I came past with Uncle Cecil, and I would sit there and he would switch the engine on. And of course, looking back now, I realize the bike never moved, but he just held on to me, and I thought I was riding a bike, and I grew up absolutely loving motorbikes. He was very handsome.
Oh, Beryl must have had some money. Her son has the equivalent of a Harley Davidson. He was very handsome. He's got riding around on his motorbike. What are we talking about here? Like I said, this is when I knew that this woman was dialed in, because I had never spoken about Kenneth publicly, not for any particular reason. I just literally hadn't gotten around to it, as I've been collecting all of this evidence to present to the public on Kamala's family and looking into Enid and looking into Kenneth. So very interesting. Again, sounds like this Beryl had a lot of money. It's just not giving the person that is pictured in Kamala's book. Now, of course, naturally, Kamala Harris then comes up in this conversation. And Dorothy keeps this same positive energy. She's very positive, right? She has a spirit about her. She has this fond memory. Delightful. She's delightful in her approach about Beryl. And she's delightful in her approach about Kamala and Kamala's features. She really likes Kamala's facial features. I'll tell you why. Take a listen.
And Miss Beryl, by the way, I see Vice President Harris on the box, and I sit up straight and I think, my God, she looks so much like Miss Beryl. Her facial features, the only thing is Miss Beryl was much smaller in stature, but
well, okay, if Miss Beryl, because Kamala is very fair-skinned.
Right.
Was Beryl fair-skinned?
Yes, she was.
She was?
She was. She was fair-skinned.
She was? Okay.
Yes, she was very fair-skinned.
Oh.
With black hair.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So she was so fair-skinned that now that I'm older and I can spot people by their skin coloring, etc., for me, I would say there was something Irish there.
How interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
Yeah, Irish, like the Irish slaveholders that she comes from, but let's get it.
say somewhere along the line she would have had ancestors that were Irish. Yes.
Actually, can I show you a photograph?
Of course.
Of an old lady.
Yes.
And some people speculate that this is Miss Beryl.
Right.
So, sorry, bear
That's
with me.
okay.
I am so untechnological.
Okay.
It's just pathetic.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Nah, that's not Miss Beryl.
That's not Miss Beryl.
That's definitely not Miss Beryl.
Yeah, she knew immediately that wasn't her, and this woman is totally credible. So she actually knew Kamala's actual grandmother. So for her to have that reaction, let you know the jig is up. It was a complete lie that she put in her book, and she was basically taking someone else's grandma and passing it off as her own, which is to me diabolical. But let's go.
Okay.
That's not Miss Beryl.
So
and
that means you have to just show.
Yeah.
So
that is not Miss Beryl.
That's not Miss Beryl.
Definitely not Miss Beryl.
Okay.
And I know what she looks like. I couldn't have been in a dream, and she definitely did not look like that.
There's another person.
Yeah, Shadow, I'm glad you said that. You said the word fair has nothing to do with complexion biblically. Yeah. You know how they do. You know, they'll switch the words and just kind of make it seem as though fair means like lighter skin. But in the scriptures, like you said, if they use the word fair, then typically it meant someone who was attractive. Just like you go look, start breaking down the Hebrew word. But anyway, I'm glad you pointed that out. I was going to say something about it, but I figured you guys are a lot more intelligent, so you already knew that. But I'm glad you pointed it out anyway. But yeah, they took the word fair and just kind of attributed all these things to it, but that's not what it actually means. But let's go.
Person, but could that be Miss Beryl?
No, that's not
That's
Miss
not Miss
Beryl.
Beryl
That's
either.
not Miss Beryl either.
Okay.
Don't know who that is.
Okay.
That's not Miss Beryl. That ain't Miss Beryl. As you were describing the fair skin and looking like Kamala, I was thinking this can't be the Miss Beryl grandma that's in Kamala's book. And clearly you see Lady C's going, wait, fair skin? Maybe is this? Nope, that's not Miss Beryl. I didn't dream. That's not Miss Beryl. Yeah, that sounds about right. You're saying Irish. And that's funny because Judge Joe Brown had a very distinct memory that Donald Harris told him that he was Irish and Hindu. And things are starting to add up, not in Kamala Harris's favor. And I don't know what to say here, ladies and gentlemen, other than I am truly, untypically speechless. I don't.
It's bad when Candace is speechless, but let's get it.
I don't think I possess within me the adequate vocabulary to discuss my distaste for a woman who borrowed a Black person for her autobiography so that she could secure the Black vote. Do you understand how fundamentally racist that is? Do you understand how despicable that is? I mean, you have.
Yeah, Candace is absolutely right here. Never thought I'd hear myself say that, but she's 100% right. That is a very low psychopathic even thing to do. To even concoct something like that. Could you imagine your own grandmother? You're so thirsty for a position. You're so diabolical in your ambitions that you would take your own grandmother and throw her under the bus and take somebody else's grandmother of a different race, mind you, and try to superimpose her in your book and pass her off as your own. That is a level of debauchery that I'm just not willing to try to fully process. But let's go.
Have to be the worst kind of political vermin to borrow a Black person to put in your book to present to the public as your grandma, who definitively was not your white Irish grandma. Okay, I don't have the word. I need someone to throw me a thesaurus so I can find it. I need to expand my vocabulary to be able to legitimately express my disgust for Kamala Harris and my now general disgust for any person who supports this woman or from here on out purports that she is the first Black anything, okay? She is beyond despicable.
Yeah, she makes a good point. With this information, this is irrefutable. Like I said, you can, however you feel about Candace, or we affectionately call her COON-DANCE Hoewens around here. So we ain't really rocking with her for several reasons that we may get into a little bit later. But you gotta respect the fact that this information is irrefutable. You have an eyewitness, someone who, like she said, she's been vetted because she's mentioning people that Candace has not even made public, but through her research, she was able to find out, like this other uncle that she has, and this woman who was an eyewitness who's speaking very believably. She definitely has all of the credentials, and she, from an eyewitness account, has identified the fact that that picture that was put in Kamala's book was not her grandmother. So that right there is a level of just sleaze and despicableness that is like ridiculous. I cannot imagine, because I love both of my grandmothers, so I know both of them very well. I had the fortunate blessing of being able to know both my father's mother and my mother's mother for a good part of my life. So I could not imagine for any amount of position or money not acknowledging them as being my grandmothers, or for some type of money or any type of elevation, trying to somehow hide them. That, I mean, I just wouldn't get it. Like I said, if I got to choose between um representing my grandmothers, who to me were some of the greatest women ever, to getting some type of money, then I'm just gonna have to leave that money on the table, because that's some BS. And for her to be able to do it for a political position and this whole concoction that they came up with, I mean, that's some Manchurian candidate crazy shit right there, man. You that makes you wonder, man, what else are they doing? But let's go.
This woman has no soul. You have to have no soul to do that. And if my instincts are correct, the person that she is showing is indeed someone she knows and is likely, like I said from the very beginning, the help. The help who would have taken on the name of the people who they worked for. It's very common. This is why you talk about having slave names. You take on the last name, the first name. When we saw that woman who was listed looking for a housekeeper position that said Beryl or Chrissy, it is my suspicion that this was the help, meaning this was likely the woman that was working for the wealthy Miss Beryl who was buying her children Harley Davidsons. I mean, it's just, this is this should end her chances at the White House. If we have any sort of moral sensibility in this country, you would never allow a person like this to assume office, because
I think that there's a high probability that she still could win, because in case you hadn't noticed, that moral sensibility has long been gone from American society. But that's a subject for another video. But yeah, I mean, I think that at this point, that should disqualify her under normal circumstances. But I don't think it's going to, because a lot of people either don't know or don't care. But let's go.
if she is willing to lie like this, if she is willing to, this is essentially the worst kind of blackface. Okay. This is what you are seeing now. Kamala Harris is in fact a minstrel show. She said,
that's actually a good comparison. So I give Candace a thumbs up for that. Yeah, she's right. That's pretty much the essential element of a minstrel show. Just she's putting on her heritage. She's making a blackface out of her heritage. But let's go.
I'm running for president. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm just going to blackify myself. Fake aunties, fake uncle photo.
Yeah, you know what she's hiding? Shadow, among other things. I'm sure there's some other more diabolical and sinister stuff that we don't know about as well. But I think ostensibly what she's hiding is the fact that because she wanted to blacken her history, she knew she couldn't show her actual grandmother, because her grandmother probably looks like a straight up white woman. So it's hard to pass yourself off as a black person if you cannot show some actual black people that you're related to. That's number one. Number two is that the actual history of her family is that they were slaveholders. So, that's a very difficult thing to try to, pass off if you're trying to, show how down you are for the people, and you come from a long line of people who are actually owners of black people. And then they, some people come out with this trope about, well, other black people own slaves too. Well, you know what? For the most part, in those instances, those are people who were buying their people back when they got their own freedom, and a lot of the freedmen and so forth, when they were able to, acquire some money, then they would go and buy their own relatives. So that's what they would do. And, you may have had a few very limited instances of actual black people owning slaves, but it was by no means the same type of slavery that you will see in terms of chattel slavery. Just like when they try to say, well, there was slavery in Africa. Well, it was a whole different standard in terms of how slavery worked. But again, that's a whole nother subject. But it's amazing how people like to try to deflect from the actual point. But to answer your question, Shadow, I think that that's probably at least a couple of the reasons why she is trying to hide this thing, is because of the shame that she has of knowing what her people are actually about, and how that's not going to go over well with the people that she claims is her constituency. But let's go.
Oh, I actually just called them. And what is she going to say to this? Is she going to come out now and say, oh, when I said Grandma Beryl, I meant like that's just what we called her?
Yeah, that's crazy, Shadow. But you know what? You might be onto something. I'm sure there's some type of connection there. Did you ever see the research that says that most, or if not all, presidents, American presidents, are related? Because they actually pulled the proof that Obama is actually related to Cheney. You know, former Vice President Dick Cheney. I think he was related to one of the George Bush too, I believe. Yeah, so they're actually, so you're onto something, Shadow, because I do believe that that is a requirement through the bloodlines, just like they did in ancient in old Europe, where they would have these, you know, cross marriages between the King of England, King of Germany, France, or whatever, and they would all be kind of intertwined through familial ties. That actually got imported to America as well. So yeah, I think there could be a high likelihood that she is plugged in on her bloodline, and that's probably part of the reason why they tried to hide it as well, using this black woman in her book as a distraction away from the actual fact. But let's go. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. He said they live bloodline. Yeah, exactly. Let's go.
Affectionately, Grandma Beryl, as she was doing our laundry and picking up after us. We called her. What is she going to say that is possibly going to be accepted? And will the press do their job now? Stop pretending this is a conspiracy and recognize that.
Absolutely not. In case you hadn't noticed, Candace, their job is to hide and deflect and the gaslight, in case you hadn't noticed. But let's go.
This woman put on blackface because she wants to win the election. Megan Thee Stallion, I'm calling you. Every person who twerked, danced, applauded, said to the public, this is a black woman. It is now incumbent upon you to take a step back, examine what we have revealed, and to take it back. Take everything you said back about this woman. Apologize.
To do that would require some integrity, but you know, as we know, that's in short supply these days. But let's get it.
For platforming her, for believing this, it's fine. I'll accept the apology, but keep the exact same energy. Oh, she's black? Okay. Now that you know that she's not, you should be angry, and you should present these facts to the public and to your followers and to your fan base. Like I said, I am shocked. I'm not shocked, but I am shocked. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am not surprised. It was inevitable. I was never going to let go. Like, I pretty much knew that I was on the right track. Her silence about the matter was deafening. The removal of everything seemed very suspicious. No longer speaking about her blackness seemed very suspicious. Now she's too highbrow. I'm not even going to address. You know why you're not going to address it? Because you're not black. You are not black. You never have been black a day in your life. You truly disgust me. I want you to know that you are filth. Kamala Harris is filth. And Lady C was similarly shocked, gobsmacked, as she put it. Take a listen.
And gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. And it then begs the question, did she seriously think she was going to be able to get away with this?
She did.
I mean, I know Candace Owens has been going hell for leather on this, and Candace Owens is clearly black. So this is not about...
Well, you know, genetically she is, but because of her decisions, Candace is pretty much, as I said, she's not a divester. And I gave you guys a whole different terminology. We don't call women like Candace divestors. We call them defectors, because what she's effectively done is taking her talents, her resources, her genetics, and she's decided to merge that over to another group, which is fine. That's her prerogative. But you have to start creating a standard by which women like her, and the men too, but we'll get into that. It's slightly different for the men because a lot of you rock with me and you understand what we, you know, if you go from whether it's a biblical or a genetic standard, you know, the seed of the man and how that all works. But just briefly, when it comes to a woman like Candace, who's not a divester, but in fact a defector from, if you were to look at the black race as kind of like a country, for example, then that would be her taking her citizenship, well, removing her citizenship. It's like if you were a citizen in a country, just like you could do in America, you could give up your citizenship, right? You can go and move and pack up and go to a whole nother country. That, you know, there's no emotion to it. You know, and me bringing this out is not, you know, being bitter, I could care less. I couldn't care less. What I'm saying is that you got to have a standard by which someone like Candace and others who decide that they, for whatever personal reasons they have, they just want to take their talents elsewhere, other than, kind of what she's doing now, which is, she's inadvertently doing a service to the Black community. But you got to have a standard that says, listen, if you're going to be doing, specifically as a woman, and you're going over, taking your genetics and yourself to a whole nother culture, then you become part of that man's culture. That's how it's supposed to work. That's why you're supposed to, as a woman, take on the name, the family name of the man you marry, because you're getting a whole new identity. So again, it's just like if you were in a country and you decide to say, oh, I'm going to give up my citizenship to go be a part of this other country, because we can't do the whole dual citizenship thing, right? We see how that works out, and you can't have people deciding they're going to dip in and dip out like what EU was talking about. So that's why one of the reasons why I said you have to come up with the standard that I came up with. But let's get it. Oh, shout out to Israel. What did he say? He said, Kamala a fraud. I cussed her old bitch ass out on my last live. Okay. Yeah, let's get it.
Anti-blackness, because as you could see, Dorothy is not white. So, I mean, I'm just stunned that any ambitious politician would present as a grandparent of hers, and Kamala Harris is very fair-skinned. Whether she calls herself black or brown, she's still fair-skinned. But she definitely has black blood. So to that extent, it's not anything artificial. What does seem to be...
Well, this white woman, she's still trying to resurrect the one drop rule. So according to their standard, just because she has some black in her, which she may very well, I don't know. I mean, again, I would surmise that to whatever extent she has black, it's very small. I would say maybe it's certainly under our 20% standard. That's what I would surmise about her. So that doesn't mean she's black. So what this white woman is saying right here is inaccurate. But I know, she still has that one drop rule mentality, of course. I don't even think she's from America. I think she might be from England or wherever based on her accent. But no, you see, that's what I'm saying, guys. You got to have your own standard. You can't let people of other backgrounds like her come up with standards, because she's going to be still saying the same foolery that she just said right there. But let's go.
Extraordinary is the creation of...
Willie is the black in her. But he's not even in there no more, so I guess that's that, right?
Black grand...
Then again, we don't know. I mean, he might be, dipping in on the side. You never know.
Mother, when her grandmother was of color, but wasn't black. And she just... Did she get somebody off the street and pop them the photograph? Was it a helper? Who was this woman? I mean, it boggles the imagination.
Don't you worry. Leave it with me, Lady C. From one Lady C to another, I'm going to get to the bottom of who that woman is in the picture, and I'm going to get to the bottom of who the Irish Beryl actually is, because here's what happens now. Blood is in the water, my friends, okay? If you watch the full interview, you should cut over to Lady C's YouTube channel and watch the entire thing. That woman gave a ton of accidental clues about the Irish Beryl that we are now looking for. She excelled at mathematics. She built a home. She resembles Kamala Harris. She had black hair. She owned a store which specialized in making bustas. Now we can refocus our attention and look for the true Beryl, the white-looking Beryl. And we are going to be able to find that person sensitive. Now, like I said, there is way too...
And I am with the wordplay. So looks like Candace is scraping the bottom of the barrel to find more information about Beryl. I had to do it. Let's get it.
Too much information out there. And we need to put tremendous amounts of pressure for Kamala Harris to respond because, like I said, you have to be borderline psychopathic to do what she did. Do you understand? Like, just take a pause here.
What, the cackler psychopathic? No, man. Who would have known that the cackler may have been psychopathic? It's amazing.
And recognize how demented you have to be.
Yeah, there she is right there, the cackler. Yeah, there's nothing psychopathic about that. Come on.
Okay? To approve the printing of a book with a photo, featuring a photo of who you purport is your grandma Beryl, you standing next to a woman who was likely cleaning your dirty underwear. Okay? Likely. That's what I think. I feel it in my soul that that's who these women were that were pictured in here. This woman doesn't recognize Iris. Grandma Iris was the second photo she showed. We zoomed in on it. She doesn't recognize anyone. Dorothy's going, I don't know who these people are. Okay? You have to be utterly demented, hell-bent on power. You will stop at nothing to achieve power if you have no shame. If you have no shame, knowing that you come from a long line of...
Well, that's most of them. So, I mean, she's in good company if if that's the standard as far as not having any shame. But let's go.
Put on blackface because she
was going to be able to get away, but wasn't.
I kind of clicked down on the space. Let me get us back to where we were. Hold on.
Hair. She owned a store, which is dirty underwear. Okay, likely. That's what I think. I feel it in my soul that that's who these women were that were pictured in here. This woman doesn't recognize Iris. Grandma Iris was the second photo she showed. We zoomed in on it. She doesn't recognize anyone. Dorothy's going, I don't know who these people are. Okay, you have to be utterly...
You know what? That's about that. Yeah, that's kind of similar right there. So yeah, I'm sure there's some connection there.
Demented, hell-bent on power. You will stop at nothing to achieve power if you have no shame. If you have no shame, knowing that you come from a long line of slave owners, that you would then appropriate the identity of a real Black woman so that you can what? Re-enslave Black people in America today. That's exactly why she's doing it. She is disturbed, okay? Like I said, this is now a beginning. We get to refocus our attentions. I have a ton of suspicions. I truly believe that I was on the right track when I examined the same thing for Christiana Brown. I believe they're lying about who Christiana Brown is. And I'm going to find both of the women. What do we have? 18, 19 days until the election. I'm not letting go, guys. I am just... Email me if you find any information, info@CandaceOwens.com. You know where we will be. This woman is not going to get away with this. I'm disgusted. All right, guys. Also reminding you about preborn because...
Yeah, so there you have it, fellas. We got some more. But that's crazy, isn't it? But to me, that pretty much seals the deal. That shows that, that is... pretty astonishing that this woman would go through these links. Now, you have to realize that this is a whole enterprise that's behind it. You got media, you got a bunch of other bad actors as well who are involved in this, and just kind of opens up a can of worms in terms of what else could be going on with that whole thing. So it's crazy. But let me show another clip here, because that if you haven't seen it, you can go check out the entire video. Oh, you know what, we're gonna get back to this whole expose of Kamala, but we gotta like kind of shift gears sometimes, so just to kind of break the monotony. But we haven't went in on a Cookie Monster as of late, because we did such a good job of dissecting the Cookie Monster. I think he's starting to change a little bit of his rhetoric. You notice I haven't heard him saying anything about dark-skinned men or Black men being abusive. Lately he kind of, started getting up off of those talking points since I kind of had to put the whooping on him a little bit. But I'm going to show you how off he is on this whole thing about standards, right? So yeah, we gotta get in on the Cookie Monster. And I know Shadow Zulu, you live for these moments. You know, you love when we go in on the Cookie Monster. So I want to play this little clip about him with some exoticals and how hypocritical he is. And we're going to dissect this real quick. You know, we're just kind of changing the pace a little bit. But I wanted to show you guys this to see what you thought. So let's get it. Let me load this real quick. Check this out.
Hi.
Okay, ladies, I want to do a ethnicity check, if y'all don't mind.
Okay.
What are the
Now hold on for a minute. Now, remember, Umar is the same Negro that says that, and again, this is different from his original stance, but now he says, well, you know, these are mixed Africans, right? That's the term he will use. They're biracial Africans or whatever, right? See, before, when he got into it with Sarah Seti and he was calling them all kind of crackers, you know, he was all, you know, he was all like this. Let me show you how he was before. We're gonna get back to this video, but I'm gonna show you how Umar was before when he was going in on people who were mixed and all that. You know, he was talking like D, you know, going in on the cracker, right?
You rat suit eating hunky motherfucker.
So he was all like that, right? He had all that kind of energy for the white man, but now all of a sudden, you know, if they mixed or whatever, they're mixed Africans. They're still Africans, right? But he don't even know what these women's background is. These are biracial women, but he said he needed an ethnicity check because he didn't know. But if they were Africans, then they would have been, you know, clearly identified. He wouldn't have had to ask for an identity check. I'm laughing. Yeah, that's what it is. Oh yeah, Israel, we got to get it. Yeah, but no, it's even worse than that because he doesn't even have a standard for what an actual African is. He wants some Asian cookie. Yeah, he wants some fortune cookie, of course. But I just found it interesting that he couldn't identify what these women were just from on sight. You know, even though they're supposed to be African according to him, but he couldn't identify who they were. But let's get it. But he's the prince of Pan Africanism or Pan Pizza or whatever. But he couldn't identify some of his subjects because, you know, they're supposed to be Africans. But let's go.
No, we're not. Hi.
Okay, ladies, I want to do a ethnicity check, if y'all don't mind.
Okay.
What are the ethnicities here?
I'm East African.
You're East African?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now,
ours?
hold on. Let's stay with that East African for a minute. What is your mother's ethnicity and what is your father's ethnicity?
My mother's white.
Okay.
And my dad is Ugandan.
He's Ugandan.
Mm-hmm.
He's black Ugandan.
He's black Ugandan.
Okay.
As opposed to what? The white Ugandans? What are you talking about, Umar? Let's go.
Oh,
so you're mixed race. How do you identify, though, on the regular basis?
Black.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You know, he want to crush them cookies. He want to crush that one over there is a little fortune cookie, and that one's over there a little mixed cookie. So yeah, you know, he want to crush them cookies. Who we kidding? Let's go.
Okay, young lady on my right.
Hi.
What is your ethnicity?
Wait, you should guess.
You're Asian, but I'm not sure which nationality.
Okay, wait, that's close. I'm South Asian. I'm Bengali.
Okay, are you related to Vice President Kamala Harris by chance?
She's actually Indian.
Okay, well, she's South Asian. India is South Asian.
See, even they know that she's Indian. But let's go. Y'all in here snapping. Let's go.
I'm from Bangladesh.
Okay. You're from Bangladesh. And do you date black men?
Man, look at this thirsty ass Cookie Monster. Why would he even have to ask her that? Do you date black men? Do you date Cookie Monsters? Yeah, he want to crush both of them cookies, man. Umar, we see you. We see you, Umar. The damn Cookie Monster.
Miss Bangladesh.
Actually, that was our question. Do you think it's okay?
Go ahead. What's the question? Go ahead.
You asked, do you think it's okay for a black woman or for a brown woman?
But they not supposed to be cute there because he the prince of Pan-Africanism. So He not supposed to be even you know, looking at them like that, Iman.
To be with a black king.
No, because black kings need to be saved for black queens.
Okay.
That's understandable. I get it.
Okay. But what if it's like a security guard at the club who's like always going for her and he like they're kind of cute together?
He has low self-esteem. I want you to tell him he has low self-esteem. Tell him Dr. Umar said, stop brown bunny hunting and go get you a chocolate goddess. That's what you tell him.
That's right. And
Man, he's just doing this for the gram and doing it for the cam, man. You know, if this was a private conversation, he'd be like, how much for them cookies? Give me, how much for that fortune cookie right there? Yeah, he'd be simping and all kind of shit. You know, we see you, Umar. Damn cookie monster.
I should get myself an Indian man. You're right.
There you go.
You're right.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna get myself a South Asian man.
Now you could get you a Caucasian. You could get you an Arab.
He doesn't like
I
Caucasians.
don't like Caucasians.
What's wrong with it? Why you don't want to date a Caucasian?
That's not the one for me.
Okay. Now let me go back over to my mixed race queen. Do you date white men?
I do.
You do.
I do.
Why don't you date black men?
Because one, I'm at a university where there's not a lot of black men.
But where do y'all live at?
We're in Boston.
Okay, so you're in the United States. Okay, but Boston has a lot of black men in Boston.
Why does she need to date black men, Cookie Monster? I mean, she's half white. You know, she can date a white man. What's your problem, Cookie Monster?
Not in our school.
Yeah, not in our school.
But you could date a black man from another school. I just spoke at the University of Massachusetts earlier.
She's not obligated to date a white man. So you see what he's doing? He's automatically trying to police this biracial woman. You know, she's got a full white parent, and she's talking about her situation. You know, she didn't say that she's against dating black men. She just said that that's in her situation. She just dates white men, which is totally understandable. It's like last week we had that conversation about Sade. I believe it was last week, and I think it was D who said that Sade wasn't really swirling because early in her career she was basically dating a lot of white men. And now Sade, I believe, is married to a black Jamaican, an unambiguous black Jamaican man. So, you know, she could do that. But the point of the matter is, if she's part white like this or half white like this girl, why does the Cookie Monster have a problem with her dating white men? It's kind of crazy.
This year, main campus, there was
She does date mountain men.
mountain men.
I do like mountain men.
Listen, my mixed race queen. Hold on. My mixed race queen. You said you identify as black.
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe you because you just said you date white males. So
You see how stupid that? Oh yeah, because you know there's no black women who identify as black that date white men, right? So what the hell are you talking about, Cookie Monster? So the problem that you should have, Cookie Monster, is that she's identifying as black and she's got a whole nother white parent. That's what you should have an issue with, not her dating preferences. But you're just looking at a way for you to get a part of that cookie because she, you know, in your mind, she don't date black dudes. So you don't see your way of getting yourself some mixed cookies. That's what your problem is. But let's go.
something tells me you identify. Something tells me you identify as mixed race, not black.
I think I identify as black, but then if you ask more, I'll explain that I'm.
The fact that you don't date black men, but
I do date black men, but I also date white men.
But you also date white.
See, she just said it right there. But that's, I mean, who could have a problem with that? If a mixed race woman is dating both black men and white men, that is essentially, you know, who she is. That's the one thing that you have to give them in terms of they could go either way, you know, because they're just as black as they are white. So you should not be, just like a white man shouldn't be berating her about her dating black men. The Cookie Monster, the Prince of Pan Pizza, should not be having a problem with this biracial woman deciding she wants her a Brad. This right here is the problem with the Cookie Monster. And look at, he might say he lied. Yeah.
Right, man. If you had an ideal husband, I believe he would be Caucasian, would he not?
Yes, he would be.
Even your friend said it.
I'm
Even
sorry,
your
I'm not a
friend said
liar.
even your friend said you want a white man. So
He wants a white man.
and so that tells me that you have a more mixed race identity instead of a pro-black identity.
What the hell is he talking about? She's mixed race, you damn retarded ass Cookie Monster. You see how stupid this is? This is why I can't rock with Umar fully. I mean, he says some stuff that I could get way here and there, but this right here is the problem. That's why I want to show you guys this clip. You see this confusion? He literally is trying to berate this woman for something that she actually is talking about. She has a mixed race outlook rather than a pro-black one. What the hell else is she supposed to have? She's mixed race. Now, there are mixed race people who do lean more toward in their rhetoric and in their mentality as you know, they identify kind of on the black side, and there's some that identify more with the white. That's their personal choice. But the fact of the matter is, she's mixed race, in her personality and her choices reflect that. So why is he trying to police this woman's personality, essentially, in terms of who she is and her choices? This is ridiculous. But let's go.
Can you don't think those can coexist?
No. Okay. You're mixed race genetically.
Okay.
Politically, you can only be one race. Politically.
Okay. Okay.
And so you have to pick a side. You can't ride the fence.
Okay.
So you have to decide if you're going to be African all the time or mixed race all the time.
But here's the problem with that, though. She does not have to be even politically involved. Who says she has to be politically involved? She can just live her life. See, everything doesn't have to come down to politics and her picking a side. She's not trying to be an activist. See, everything that she's just living her life, right? So that was the whole fundamental problem. What he said, she's just living her life, making her choices. If she decides to get with a black man, she can get with a black man. She decides to get with a white man, she can get with a white man. Now, depending on who she chooses, then that's going to be the political position, if you will, that she'll take. You know, because a woman's supposed to fall under the influence of her husband. So if she gets with a conservative white man, then I would imagine that that's going to be her political leanings. You understand? So that's how that's supposed to work. She's not supposed to be, even as a woman, having too much of a strong political leaning either way. She's supposed to be under the rulership or leadership and guidance of her man. So whatever man she chooses, if she does get with a white man, then that is going to define her political leanings. That's how it's supposed to work. But he's sitting up here, this woman, she looks young, and she's still trying to, I guess, sort it all out and decide who she's going to end up with. But for him to be sitting up here saying this, talking about, oh, you got to choose genetically, you're mixed, but you can only be one politically. Well, she doesn't have to choose a political side, just like she doesn't have to vote or doesn't have to be a Democrat or a Republican. She could be an independent, right? She don't have to necessarily choose the pro-black side specifically, because she's mixed. You see how that works? But let's get it.
I had a question.
Sure.
Do you think that the Indian people need their own Dr. Umar?
Well, the East Indian community.
Nobody needs a Dr. Umar, but let's go.
Community is doing quite well. They're one of the largest countries in the world in terms of population. They are about to be the epicenter of the IT.
Yeah, Umar said Umar's political side is creating baby mamas. Yeah, and eating and crushing cookies. Yeah, that's what he does. But let's go. And he said, that's a funny question. Yeah, I think they're just trolling this Cookie Monster ass. Yeah, they're probably just trolling him.
World. So, see, Dr. Umar exists because African people are socially, politically, and economically at the bottom of the human ladder. Slavery and colonization
Yeah, you exist so that you can grift off of it, claim you're going to build a school while simultaneously crushing cookies. That's the reason why. Because if black people had their stuff together, the cookie monster couldn't exist. So he's exactly right. He exists because of the situation of black people, and he's able to, as the cookie monster, come in and get all the little cookies and crumbs that he can get. Yeah, that's what it is.
Set us back significantly. And unfortunately, due to global white racism, okay, and also due to multicultural brainwash, black people continue to stay near the bottom, and black leadership has done a horrible
Part of multicultural brainwash is to see a pure mixed woman. I know that's a oxymoron or paradox, but she's an actual biracial woman, and to try to box her into being only black, that's a problem too, Umar, because now what you're doing is you're watering down the pool of what it is you're trying to build, allegedly, in terms of trying to have conscious black people or people who are aware of who they are, but yet you want to cast your net wide enough to include people who are not even biologically black. So that's part of the problem too, Cookie Monster. What did Umar say? He said the only thing them Indian dudes do like Umar is pussy police like Umar. Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine an Indian Cookie Monster though, like Umar? That would be actually funny.
job of helping us to get to where. So Dr. Umar is necessary because God's first people, God's original people, we have to go back to our ancient glory. And so I am.
Well, I agree with him there, but look, if you go back to your ancient glory, you have to deal with actual black people. You can't be dealing with someone who's half, 30%, all of this stuff. So you see how contradictory he is. And again, that's what I'm saying. I can rock with some of what he says, because what he just said right there, I can give him that. I can nod my head to the Cookie Monster. He's right here and there, and he's right. We need to go back as the original people, and we fell from glory, and we need to go back to that. He's exactly right. However, he's including people who are not part of that original group, and that's the problem. But let's go.
A rallier. I'm trying to rally my
Yeah, exactly. You mind if it was Indian, he'd be the curry monster. Yeah, exactly.
people to reclaim our ancient greatness before it's too late.
That's beautiful, and I appreciate
Well, this is funny.
it.
See, so, but I want you to. You're gonna have to go on my mixed race African retreat because I'm going to get you. I'm going to get your blackness back. You have
Mixed race African retreat. That sounds like a code word for he got to crush your cookies. He got to put more black in you because you got half black, but he got to put some more black in you. That's what it sounds like to me.
to go to the mixed race. I'm having a retreat for mixed race Africans, so we can.
I'm sure it's mostly just the female persuasion, but maybe I'm jumping the gun, but who knows?
Baptize you back into your blackness because you're losing it.
Oh, he gonna baptize her back in her blackness. Yeah, so he really wants to put some milk on those cookies, if you know what I mean. But let's go.
In Boston, them white boys, they're snatching what little melanin you have, and we got to save the little bit you got left. So I need you to stop. I need you to stop bunny hopping and get back to the brothers. They're depleting.
Wait, he better be glad D ain't here. He be having a fit right now. This is crazy.
Your melanin. The Caucasians are depleting your melanin, my young sister. Now, for my Asian sister on the other side, my Bangladesh queen.
Oh man, so he got Bangladesh queens now. So it's not good enough just to have African queens. Now even the Bangladeshis are queens now. Okay.
I appreciate your honesty. I do. But no more black males because you're stealing men from my sisters.
I know. You're right. I won't.
Go get you a nice Caucasian, a nice Mexican, a nice.
Oh, I want a nice Indian.
How about a nice Arab? That might work for you.
What's what?
An Arab.
Oh, okay.
Y'all related anyway, right? The Arabs and the Indian. There's some type of genetic
Maybe.
crossover somewhere.
I don't think we are. I'm
Some
pretty
people say
far.
that.
Exactly. You know what, Iman, that's a good thing. I'm glad you said that because that diminishes the whole point, right? If everybody's a king and queen, it means nobody's a king or a queen. Just like with him trying to bestow blackness on everybody, you know. Let me put it in terms maybe he can understand. Umar, if you have a bunch of different cookies, right? You got butter cookies, you got peanut butter cookies, you got chocolate chip cookies. If everybody was a chocolate chip cookie, then the world would not be as fun, right? So you got to have different cookies. Everybody can't be a chocolate chip cookie, right? So maybe that makes a little more sense to him because you got to speak his language. You got to speak the language of the Cookie Monster. You can't bestow blackness and queens and kings on everybody because it defeats the whole purpose. But anyway, let's get some more of this foolery before we move on.
The Indians and the Arabs are the same people.
I don't. Yeah, no, I don't know if that's true because Arab is like Middle Eastern and.
No, he did. Umar, Iman, are you serious? Did he actually call a white man a king? I've never heard him say that, but I don't doubt it. But that's crazy. Now that really undermines everything he's about. Now I know he's just pandering. He's a king of pander Africanism at this point.
Indians are like South Asian.
Well, remember now, Pakistan. You have Arabs in Pakistan. Pakistan and India share a border.
Yeah, that's the other part of it. He queen and king without a kingdom. That's the main thing. Iman stands on it and say, yes, okay, yeah, I'm not doubting you, but I'm like, that's crazy if he did that.
Yeah.
Remember, Pakistan was sectioned off, and Pakistanis, a lot of them are Arabs.
I'm not sure.
There's some geographical similarities.
I'm not sure. I feel like they're not, but maybe.
Okay. Well,
I don't know how closely related they are.
I got you.
Oh.
Thanks for tapping in, ladies. I appreciate y'all.
All right.
Thank
you for having us. That was
No
so fun.
problem, ladies. Y'all be blessed. Goodbye now. All right now. All right, family. Who we got tapping in? Identity crisis. Who tapping in? I have a problem with you thirsty black males on here trying to tap into.
I know this Negro ain't. I know the Cookie Monster ain't calling nobody thirsty. Oh my goodness.
To the Bengali young lady. Leave that South Asian alone. How you going to hate on Kamala Harris and turn around
If they could deal with the biracial woman, they could deal with the South Asian. What are you talking about, Umar?
and try to kick game to the young Bengali lady? That is a contradiction, my ninja. You bunny hop.
Oh, contradiction. So Mr. King of Contradictions saying somebody else is contradicting. We want to say, look, yeah, Umar, yeah, I might do that because I want to maybe clip that. Israel says, look at Niger projector. Yeah, man, this dude is the prince of Pan-Africanism and the king of projection. Crazy.
Ninjas. That is a complete contradiction. Y'all on Dr. Umar's live. Y'all on Dr. Umar's live trying to get at the South Asian. See, you black men, this is why black masculinity is at an all-time low. These Negroes is so thirsty for a non-black woman. They trying to get her number while she's talking to me on the live about racial politics. This is insane.
Yeah, because the Cookie Monster ain't never did nothing thirsty himself, right? So he gets to get up here on his high horse, stroke his beard, and be, sitting on his couch like a slob, talking down to people. Meanwhile, he himself was over in the DR with a bunch, chasing a bunch of Latinas around. But that's okay. But he's supposed to be the prince of Pan-Africanism. Okay.
Black man, we need to get it together. Y'all go crazy when y'all see a non-black woman. This is insane. I see what black
Exactly. And watch this.
Black women are talking about.
See, that's why he does that. Israel, you hit the nail on the head. That's the reason why he does it. He gets on this little soapbox or cookie box. He gets on top of his cookie box and then wants to, browbeat black men. Because you notice he never has that same energy for black women who date out. Like, say, for example, Candace here on the screen. He don't have that kind of energy for them. He might mention it here and there, but he really goes in on the black men so he can get on his little soapbox or cookie box and then just start trying to berate black men in the front of black women. That's why he does it. I mean, it's pretty old at this point.
I think I'm just going to have to marry all the single women because I don't know what we're going to do with the rest of you ninjas.
See, he want all the cookies. See, that's what he said. You see what he just said there? He got to marry all the single women, so because he the cookie monster. Who else would think of something like that other than the damn cookie monster? Man, get this fool off my screen. But yeah, that's pretty much it right there. There you go. Goddamn cookie monster. But anyway, what Shadow Zulu says, imagine if a snow bunny just walking behind Umar with a towel on. That would be hilarious. Yeah, you know what? I'm sure at some point we might see that. Or I'm sure that's probably happened at some point. He said, Umar says he is on his mama's couch. Yeah, it's cookie box, man. He don't have a soapbox. He got a cookie box. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted you guys to see that one. Let's get back into this before we wrap up. Get back into this Candace Owens situation. How the unambiguous black woman, before she became a defector, that is, it's exposing the exotical Kamala. Let me see what we're gonna pull out something else over here. So what we got. Check this out right here. This is an interesting video about some people. Since we were talking about lineage and heritage and whatnot, check this video out right here. There's a whole Indian village that is celebrating Kamala. And I want you guys to check this out. Look at this.
Warm and hearty congratulations for the Vice President of United States of America. We do take immense pride in her victory and what she has and whom she has become today.
Israel said that Taft reversed the letters, goofy as fuck. Yeah, exactly. But this video right here, this is her home village back in India. This is who's celebrating her. So that tells you right there. Because show me a village in Africa that's celebrating her. She doesn't have a lineage that goes back into Africa. That's why you won't see it. But let's get it. See, they celebrating the homegirl right there. Look at that. Number Indians. They know they people when they see it. But you don't see this in Africa.
ஒரு சின்ன கிராமத்துல பிறந்து உலகத்துல இருக்கிற மிகப்பெரிய நாடுகள்ல ஒன்றான
that dude right there on the left look like her father. The other dude with the glasses, he look like her father. Let's go.
அமெரிக்க திருநாட்டுடைய துணை அதிபராக அதுவும் பெண் துணை அதிபர் என்பது இதுதான் முதல் தடவை என்கிற அந்த அடிப்படையில் மிகப்பெரிய சாதனையை படைத்திருக்கிறார்கள்.
They dressed like she was in that picture that we saw with her and her mom and them when she was resting those, wearing that Indian garb. Yeah, they right at home over there. They bringing out all the good Indian dishes and everything for her ass. So yeah, them her people right there.
ஹாப்பியா இருக்கும். கமலா ஹாரிஸ் வாழ்க. இது எப்படி சொல்றதுன்னு தெரியல. ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கும். மார்ச் 3ஆம் தேதியிலேருந்து நாங்கள் ரிசல்ட் தெரிஞ்சுக்கிற வரைக்கும் ரொம்ப இருந்துச்சு. ஆவலா இருந்தோம். ரிசல்ட் தெரிஞ்சதுல ரொம்ப ஹாப்பியா இருக்கும்.
Look at all that curry powder. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, it's just more and more evidence in terms of her true heritage. So it's really sick and sad that people are still falling for this thing. And then you'll get you get part of this going on because of the media as well. So let's not forget where they'll have these commentators like this Snuffleupagus or Stephanopoulos dude, and look at how he's trying to gaslight this guy. But this black politician, he gonna stand his ground pretty well. So I'm gonna show this clip real quick. So this is how they was talking. If you listen to this George Stephanopoulos Snuffleupagus dude, how they were gaslighting, before all this evidence started coming out, but now they're quiet as a mouse. But let's go.
Senate. It was AP that said she was the first Indian American United States Senator. It was actually played up a lot when she came into the Senate. Now she's running nationally. Obviously, the campaign has shifted. They're talking much more about her father's heritage and her black identity. This is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. He brought it up. AP is the one that wrote the headline when she first came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about her being black, talked about her being the first Indian American senator. AP brought that up.
I don't understand why you keep on repeating it, why the president keeps on repeating it, why those introducing the president yesterday
George,
keep on repeating
I'm not
it.
the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now. That's
You've done it,
I understand why
sir.
you've done it up.
You've done it 3 times. Every single answer you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
Asked me, George. That's why.
Yeah, remember he was trying to gaslight this dude, trying to say that he was using some type of slur, and he was the one that kept bringing it up in terms of the race, right? But then that's what trying to pull this goofy shit right here.
I'm pushing back on you now. George, you asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but
and every single time you repeat the slur. That is exactly my point. You simply can't say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris because those are the facts.
AP did not say that Kamala Harris is not black. She is biracial. She is Indian. She is black. You continue to repeat the facts.
And see, even with him saying that, if you have the standard, like I said before, if you have the 2 black parents, 4 black grandparents standard, he couldn't even get away with that. You say, okay, well, you just admitted it right there. You said she was biracial, Indian and black. Even if and we have reason to believe that's not even true, but even if what you said was true, that still doesn't make her black. Just like if you take someone who's white and black or what have you, that doesn't make them white. So all of a sudden, you're trying to still impose the 1-drop rule on us. So he could have had him right there, but again, when you still adhere to that 1-drop rule, then you got jackasses like him who can still try to pull that nonsense. But let's go.
Fact that you continue to repeat the slur. I don't understand why you and the president do it, but it's clear you're not going to say that it's wrong. So
yeah, so it's just the same old goofy stuff they've been trying to pull. And then Israel said this MF George is Greek. He needs to take his ass over there and be a news anchor over there. Yeah, I mean, he's been a shill, and just a lot of them. They're just political prostitutes, and they just, that's how they get their daily bread. But the jig is up on a lot of them, and as they, as this information keeps coming out, they're not going to be able to, keep pulling this stuff. But over here on the Night Riders, we're just, as I said, sitting back in the Imperial skybox, observing it. We're just looking at making sure that we get ourselves good. And that's that. But let's get a few other things up over here. See, before I start getting into the solutions part of the broadcast, what else did I want to pull up? Oh yeah, this one right here. Some of you guys were talking about earlier how Willie Brown was the black in. I think it was Shadow Zulu. You said that Willie Brown was the black in it, but you gotta don't forget she had some other black in her before too. Let me yes, well, I think he's half black, but Montel Williams. So some of you guys might be familiar with this. She was rolling with him. So I guess she was getting passed around, before, after Willie got through busting her down, and Montel had, wanted his turn at bat. So yeah, so she got a couple. I guess she got a little black in her, between the two of them. But yeah, which one are you talking about, Israel? Some other chick in there. Anyway. Yeah, that's her history. I'm sure there's some other guys in the background we may not be aware of back in during her college days and so forth. So I'm sure she's had her share of black in her, but it doesn't translate till today, because that was back in the day. So I think at this point it's probably been wore off by now. But let's get a little bit more. Oh yeah, I'm gonna give you guys let me give you a quick little shot of eye candy real quick. Just random. Throw this one at you. Just a little something. But let's get into the solutions part of the broadcast, because I want to point out a few things for you guys. Look at Umar said it 6. Yeah, it's cool. I think I got a couple more too I might throw at you, but I want you guys to be aware of something. Are you guys familiar with Sunny Hostin? Because she's been talking mad crazy. I'm gonna play this clip. I think my man TD Media, he did a good video on her exposing the hypocrisy of what this woman is doing, because she called black men crazy or ridiculous for not supporting Kamehameha, and it's really kind of weird, but we're gonna have to go into it. Yeah, so y'all putting y'all ratings up for the last video. All right, cool. But let's get that video. I'm gonna show this with TD Media. He's gonna pull out this woman on The View, I believe, Sunny Hostin. We're gonna go into something that she said, and we're gonna break it down, and I'm gonna make a larger point, and I'm gonna show you how this ties into this overall discussion. But let me get this video of TD Media breaking down this clip of Sunny Hostin and how she tried to call black men crazy for not supporting Kamala. Let me pull that up. And this is fair use, fair use.
Going on, everybody? We are here, we are live, and it is Terry time. I got a little time to Terry, not too much, but I definitely got a little time to Terry for Sunny Hostin's knowledge.
See everything else. I don't care about none of that. I ain't got time to Terry.
I typically don't got time to Terry, but I got a little time to Terry today, man. I want to get into this. I want to get into this Sunny Hostin video. For those of you who don't know yet, if you're unaware of this, Sunny Hostin called black men ridiculous.
I like how he's pronouncing the name. I think it's Hostin, but he's saying Hostin. So yeah, I think I'll go with Hostin.
And crazy for not supporting Kamala Harris. She said black men are completely ridiculous and crazy. But before I even get into all that, I really just want to take a quick moment to play this first. Many of you have seen this already. Okay, many of you saw this already. I don't know why I find this so humorous. I can't stop laughing every time I watch it. And while we're just letting a few more people come in, I just want to play this one more time. You saw this on the video that I uploaded with Jasmine Crockett and that other female that was saying, like, you know, black men need to fall in step and fall in line to get a strong black woman, Kamala Harris, in office, you know, the Indian biracial woman. And if you watch that video, then you saw when I played this.
Kamala chose a white husband. Why can't black men choose a white president?
That's funny. I got to give him a rim shot for that. Let me play it. Yeah, we're gonna have to start using that effect right there called a rim shot. So yeah, that was funny what the dude said. He said, let me play that again.
It's on the video that I uploaded with Jasmine Crockett and that other female that was saying, like, you know, black men need to fall in step and fall in line to get a strong black woman, Kamala Harris, in office, you know, the Indian biracial woman. And if you watch that video, then you saw when I played this.
Kamala chose a white husband. Why can't black men choose a white president?
I'm saying.
Kamala chose a white husband. Why can't black men choose a white president?
You know what I'm saying? That's that strong biracial Indian woman that you keep telling me is black. She chose a white husband. How come I can't choose a white president? I don't know, man. That might be the question of the decade right now. That might be the question of the decade. I'll run that one more time.
Kamala chose a white husband. Why can't black men choose a white president?
And here's the thing that's funny, man. They're really in shambles. When you look at
but no, them Negroes, like, what's his name? What's that dude named, that biscuit head Negro, that lawyer who's always running around, that mush mouth dude? What's his name? Not Lee Merritt. Forgot the name of that dude. He's so important to me. I forgot his name. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Crump. Yeah. I forgot his first name, but Crump. He wrote it. Y'all got to protect her. Protect her from who? What the hell are you talking about? That's her white husband's job to protect her. And then that crying jackass, what's his name? The guy who I keep forgetting these people's names. You know that dude that's always on CNN crying? Milk dud head dude. I forgot his name. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He always crying, talking about she got to be protected. It's crazy. Let's go.
Like, not the data, but polling, right? You look at polling concerning black men and even black women. Democrats are doing horrible. Kamala's doing horrible. Not just with black men, but with black women. And that's like kind of a little kept secret. They're not really talking about that too much. I actually talked about that on my main channel months ago when Roland Martin reported on some polling numbers that came back showing that black women aren't really that.
You know what, Shadow, you're exactly right. It was, I told you guys a few times that I used to do message boards back in the day, back beginning around 2007, right before Obama was elected the first time. It was only me and a handful of other brothers who was putting out or pushing back against this narrative of Obama being the first black president. Back then, we were saying, no, he's biracial. And I didn't like the fact that he popped up out of nowhere claiming to be from Chicago, where I'm actually from, and that nobody had ever heard of this guy, because I know people who are involved in politics in Chicago and so forth. And so I had a particular interest in trying to really figure out who this guy was. And the fact that Negroes were so head over heels for him, just at the prospect of him being a quote black president. It was just crazy. And we were pushing back on the message boards, and I was trying to tell them back then that they were pretty much making a mistake. And this was before. So you got a lot of people now who were for him before they were against him, and it took 2 terms of him kicking them in the ass before they finally woke up. But yeah, you're right, Shadow Zulu. They should have did that in the first place. But and look at all the setbacks that they got under the Obama administration. And that's the reason why, if you don't have a standard and you don't have a gate to keep people like that out, and how they're treating him now because he was over, talking down to him, and how they came out going in on him, that they should have did that a long time ago. But anyway, let's go.
Enthusiastic about Joe Biden. So I guess that doesn't count because it was about Joe Biden.
Yeah, thank you, Iman. Yeah, Van Jones. I forgot that full name, but yeah, Van Jones. Yeah, that's exactly who I was talking about. Let's go.
At the time, but we're seeing that it still reflects on Kamala Harris as well, right? Not to the same degree that it was hitting Joe Biden, but nonetheless, black folks not really messing with Kamala like that. And they're in shambles. But their main target is black men. They're trying really.
Yeah, but Shadow, the Negroes back then, they couldn't see it though. They were arguing me down when I was on the message board. And I was pretty popular on those message boards. I had a lot of people following me. But whenever I would do stuff against Obama, even some of my supporters would start turning on me, start coming into my comment section. I mean, I would make threads, and they would come in, be trying to argue with me and all that. Even some of the people that were rocking with me heavy, they would still disagree with me on Obama. And I was like, nah. And they were wrong then. And it took all these years for them to see the light. And I'm sure some of them same people, now they're trying to claim that they were against them, but they were arguing me down back in the day. Just like when I was talking about that whole thing about with the unambiguous black woman in the Exoticals, even though we didn't have that terminology back then, the principle was still the same. And I was trying to tell black women to have their own standards, create their own industries with their own phenotype. They weren't listening. They were talking crazy, and we see where it ended up. But let's go.
Really hard. And that's what's so funny and interesting and crazy about this. They're actually trying really hard to get the black male vote. Like Kamala's doing interviews and stuff like that, and they have their surrogates out, but they just insult. They're trying really hard to recruit black men to vote for Kamala Harris by way of insulting us and calling us dumb, stupid, crazy, and all the above. But to show you how scared they actually are, I want to play this clip real quick by Jim Clyburn. I want to play this Jim Clyburn clip really quick, man.
That's another one, old Jim Clyburn. That's a Uncle Ben's ass nigger if I ever saw one. Yeah, y'all know about Jim Clyburn, I hope. But yeah, let's get it.
Because this really shows how terrified they are. I remember, and I don't have that clip lined up for you guys right now, but there was a video that I did some months back, right? Where
his appeal.
Jim Clyburn was asked, about the polling numbers that showed black men and black people in general weren't rocking with Joe Biden. And he said, I think there's something to miss with the polling. I don't really believe the polling. There's something to miss. And the black people, they're not going anywhere they're going to stay with Joe Biden. And Joe Biden just keep doing what he's been doing. He just keep it doing. He don't have to do nothing else. But now when he's asked that question about Kamala Harris as it relates to black men voting for Trump in this race since the switcheroo happened, this is what Jim Clyburn had to say. He's not so confident and so cocky anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure they got something up their sleeve because it's not going well for Kameme because, she's the industry choice. He's the industry plant. So the establishment, however you want to put it, they definitely, if it looks like she ain't going to get it, then yeah, you're right, Shadow. There may be some type of black swan. You already had a couple of October surprises, but you could expect a big one, maybe even up to and including WW3 might even kick off. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I tell you guys to get ready. But let's go.
Heard Donald Trump making his appeal to black men quite explicit. Your friend, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, who you campaigned with in Michigan, says that the message she's hearing from black men is, quote, Democrats take us for granted. Donald Trump talks to us directly. Are you concerned about black men voting for Trump or staying home?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Yes, I am concerned about black men staying home or voting for Trump.
That's enough. We don't need to hear anything else that you have to say. All I needed was that confirmation that you and Harris are concerned. But I'm right there with you, Tila Moore. Tila Moore, he said, I believe Harris campaign wants to lose this election. That's part of my tinfoil hat theory that I've discussed, on the main channel. I've talked about it a little bit, that this is a throwaway campaign. This is 100% a throwaway campaign. They don't necessarily want to lose, but they expect to lose, which effectively makes this throwaway campaign. And right now what's happening is that they're running a series of stress tests by way of propaganda on the mainstream media. They're just talking complete foolishness, and to see, can we talk complete foolishness? Can we speak in complete absurdities? Can we tell you that the sky is orange, even though you can see that the sky is blue, yet still convince you to vote for a completely manufactured, nonsensical, goofy, and dare I say stupid bozo the clown ticket like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz?
Exactly. And here's the thing, though. I found out, I don't know if you guys even know this, but even if Kamala loses, all of the campaign contributions and the money that she was able to raise, she gets to keep that. So she pretty much probably has more to gain by losing at this point, because I don't know what her war chest is, but I would imagine it's in the tens of millions of dollars by now. So I'm sure she has a lot of people still contributing to her, from the left and so forth. So I don't know if you guys know that, but even if she loses the campaign, all those campaign contributions, she gets to keep that money. So just so you guys will know. So what TD's saying right here might be actually true in terms of this being a throwaway for her. But let's go.
And if they can get you guys to do that in the face of all of the insults, all of the foolishness and stupidity that this campaign has been, I mean, mission accomplished. They can convince people to do anything at that point. So I really think that they're running some sort of a stress test. I really do believe that. But that's just my 10.
Yeah, just like what they did during the pandemic. That was all the stress tests as well. But let's go.
Foil hat theory. That's my tinfoil hat theory. There's a lot more to it. It's not as fleshed out as I would like it to be, but I may go into that another time, but not right now, because we got to get into some Terry. Okay, I want to get into this real quick. Let's pull up Sunny. Let's pull Sunny up so she can hear, so we can all hear what she thinks about you. Okay, this is what she thinks about you guys and me as well. And Untried Genius, shame on you. You know me, the first person in here. I was literally expecting you to be the first comment, as you always are. I was looking.
Now he's going in on his commenter right there, but let me fast forward. Yeah, kind of how I got to go in on you guys sometimes, but let me get to the point of the Sunny chick. An ironic name, because she's always so gloomy and race baiting, but her name is Sunny. I mean, that's an oxymoron, but let's go.
Reach the Cuban men and
let's stop right there.
Oh, let me take
so
it
you
back.
saw
hold on
into that, man.
We can't poll people's hearts and we can't see into people's hearts. And so when we're looking at these polls and we're looking at who is voting for Trump, you've got 53% of white women that voted for him in 2020. We've got to reach those women. We've got to reach those ridiculous, crazy black men that did vote for Trump. We've got to reach those people. We've got to reach the Cuban men. And
let's stop right there. So you saw the thumbnail for this video, right? Look, why did her eyes bug out like that when she said ridiculous, crazy black men? Look at her face. Her eyes popped out of her head.
That is funny. Yeah, when she mentions black men and she just damn get the bug eyes all of a sudden, it's crazy.
When she said, we got to get those.
Ironically, she's the one, she's calling black men ridiculous and crazy, but she looks pretty ridiculous and crazy right there to me. Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? Well, let's go.
Ridiculous, crazy black men who voted for Trump. We got to get them. Now, she didn't refer to anybody else like that. Everybody else, she just said normal, 53% of white women that voted for him. We got to convince them and, get them over here. The Cubans that vote for Trump overwhelmingly, the Cuban men, we got to, get them over here. But when she spoke on black men, her eyes literally popped out the socket while calling you ridiculous and crazy. Let's take it from the top. Man.
Now, remember, guys, I want you to juxtapose this to what we learned earlier about the fact that this woman, that is Kamala, is not even black. But you got this other non-black woman, we're going to get into that shortly, who's trying to berate black men for not supporting a non-black woman. This is crazy, but let's go.
But, we can't poll people's hearts and we can't see into people's hearts. And so when we're looking at these polls and we're looking at who is voting for Trump, you've got 53% of white women that voted for him in 2020. We've got to reach those women. We've got to reach those ridiculous, crazy black men that did vote for Trump. We've got to reach those people. We've got to reach the Cuban men in Miami that overwhelmingly voted for Trump. I don't know.
How come Cuban men are ridiculous and crazy? How come it's only the black men that's ridiculous and crazy?
Exactly. That's a good point. And shout out to TD Media. Like I said, that's my Southside Chi-Town homeboy right there. Salute to him. I think he's a Californian now, but salute to him. But yeah, he makes an excellent point. All of a sudden, she shifts. Like when she's talking about black men, they're ridiculous and crazy. You see the disrespect, but then she's talking about Cuba and these other groups. She don't have to use that type of colorful language. She don't have to use so many adjectives to describe them, but when it comes to you, all of a sudden you get to be all these names. It's crazy. But you're the ones that they need the most, right? You're the ones that obviously would be the ones that would make the difference. So they should be a lot more respectful and more conciliatory to your needs, as opposed to giving you bogus plans like what Kamala's supposed to come out with and having Obama coming out wagging his damn finger. Instead of them coming at you with respect, and they want to come at you like this. It's really amazing. But let's go.
What about them Cuban men? Why aren't they ridiculous and crazy? I'm trying to figure that out. How come it's just us?
Black men that did vote for Trump. We've got to reach those ridiculous, crazy black men that did vote for Trump. We've got to reach those people. We've got to reach the Cuban men in Miami that overwhelmingly voted for Trump. I don't know what their hearts look like, but I know what their votes look like.
But I'm not talking just, I'm not speaking to people's hearts, and I am sunshine and rainbows, but I'm not Pollyanna in this world. What I'm speaking to is when you.
Well, she said she's not sunshine and rainbows, but her girl's name is Sunny. So, I guess that's what she's into, sunshine and rainbows. But let's go.
Resonate with someone's heart. And Kamala has a good heart. Alyssa and I were speaking after she was here. And one thing Alyssa finished with is, regardless of how someone answers the questions or how they perform or how they navigate it, her empathy resonates. She is a good person at the end of the day. So what I'm saying is I do trust the good in humanity.
Thank you. Yeah, Israel. See, that's the point. That's what should be their focus, because after all, that's who she's in bed with, literally. I mean, she's married. She's more white than she is black, to the extent she's black at all. And she's married to a white man. So what is with this whole thing about black men having some type of obligation just because Willie Brown and Montel Williams bust her down back in the day? I mean, she's thrown back into the game. She's not under the tutelage of any black man. So what exactly is the reason that a black man has to defend her or vote for her even? This is crazy.
I don't care about none of that. I ain't got time to tell you.
Policy and paper. Like, what does this stand?
I'm not trying to hear none of that, man. We ain't got time for all that. Get that nonsense out of here. She's a good person. She has a good heart. That's actually a great segue. There's actually a great segue to what I want to play next in closing. And yes, I said in closing. If y'all don't know, on this Terry channel, I be trying to shut this down early. 10-minute live stream. I'm out. You want something longer than that?
That's a good idea. That's how I need to do you, Negroes, man. I'm gonna start doing 10-minute live streams. Let's go.
You got to go to the main channel. But she said that she's a good person with a nice heart. Kamala Harris has to be one of the most evil-spirited, wicked people in Washington, D.C. One of the most evil, mean-spirited people that's literally in Washington, D.C. right now. I did so many videos about her, in the last 3.5 years on the main channel concerning the revolving door of staff members going in and out, of her staff. She couldn't hold on to anyone. Working with Kamala Harris was a complete nightmare for anyone who works with her. It always has been. She's not a good person. That was part of one of the main reasons that her original presidential campaign in 2019 fell apart, because she's a trash person. She's a horrible human being. And there's plenty of documentation in video and audio that proves that. And now I wish that I had this other video queued up, but I don't. So let's get to the main point that I want to get to now concerning her being a horrible person. Okay. Concerning her being a horrible person. She was recently on the Shade Room, right? She was on the Shade Room and she's being interviewed by, the LG TV fellow, Roland Martin type of guy.
Interacted with him, met him.
His next question.
That's funny. I know you guys seen that clip when Roland was looking at Man Cheeks. It was really sick and sad, but yeah, I think you guys should be familiar with that.
The kind of guys that Roland like. Hence where that soundbite came from. She's being interviewed by one of those kind of guys that Roland Martin likes. And she was just mean and nasty to him for no reason. I'm going to play the clip for you. All right. I'm going to play it for you right now as we head out of here. Look at this.
His name is Barack.
Let me rewind it back from the beginning. This is one of Roland Martin's homies right here.
Yeah, it's a little zesty dude, but yeah, she's gonna snap at him a little bit. But isn't that her constituency? Because all the men, specifically the black men that I see that's rocking with her, they're pretty much this guy's ilk right here. I'm gonna play a little bit of this, and then we're gonna move on.
You have a friend. His name is Barack Hussein Obama. You know him?
I do know him.
He recently in Pittsburgh.
President.
Let's get it right.
Yes.
Yeah, President. President Barack Obama.
Well, I wish I could curse. I could, but what a piece of dung. What a piece of garbage. She's such.
I like TD, boy. He be staying on her neck. Any little thing she do, he be calling her out. But anyway.
Evil.
Yeah, that dude was, he extra moist. I don't want to hear him no more. But I think the point is made.
Means.
Because what TD's pointing out is the fact that how snippy and snappy she was. And even though that's basically her constituency. So if she'll do that to them, what do you think? How you think she'll talk to you? But anyway.
Spirited person. This is her constituent right here. This is the guy that's going to.
Exactly. That's why I just said that. Those are the guys who are going to vote for her.
Be voting for her for sure. She's on the Shade Room here to essentially get the black male vote, I guess. She did like a little, black press run. She was on the Shade Room here with this guy. She was on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I believe she's supposed to be on the Breakfast Club soon. I don't think she went today, but I know she has a Charlemagne the God Breakfast Club, thing planned soon. You know what I mean? Because like I said, trying to insult their way into getting the black vote.
And Stephanie in the building, salute, says that's how she speaks to all black people. She was raised by communist slave owners. Yeah, that was a good point. I mean, I guess that's in her blood, right? I mean, how else is she going to speak to people, right? Specifically black people. So yeah, that's a good point. But let's go.
Black male vote to get her into office. But just going back to how much of a horrible person that she is. Why would you do that? Why would you be nasty to this guy like that? You know what I mean?
You have a friend.
Yeah, so that's pretty much, just exposing her character. But anyway, let's get into Sonny Hostin. Or like my man said, Hostin. I think we'll go with that, Sonny Hostin. And we're going to play a little bit of her background because I find it pretty ironic that this woman is trying to berate black men, calling black men all kinds of crazy and ridiculous for not supporting a non-black woman, while at the same time when you check her paperwork, it comes up a little interesting, right? So let's play a little bit about Sonny hosting over here. So let me pull this up for you. Let's pull this up.
Sonny, you were just on an episode of Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates Jr.
Was.
Yeah.
And he gave me some surprising revelations about my family history. You know, I was really
Fair use, fair use.
reluctant. I don't know how you felt when you did it, Whoopi, but I was really reluctant to do it because I just sensed that there could be something in my family history that would be disappointing.
Negative.
Negative, yes. I thought I was going to have that kind of moment. And Skip had asked me to do it for a long time. And I finally decided to do it because I thought it'd be helpful for my children and my children's children to know what their real history was, you know? But what I found out was that my mother's family, while they are Puerto Rican, they actually originated from Spain. And the reason that they moved to Puerto Rico is because the slave trade had been sort of canceled in Spain and then Curacao, and then they moved all of their slaves to Puerto Rico. And so the family business, I had been told that they were printers and journalists, but they were in fact enslavers.
So with all this blackity black talk, her family was not only not black, but they were actually slaveholders. And her delusional self talking about she thought she was Puerto Rican. She obviously doesn't know what a Puerto Rican is, specifically the white Puerto Ricans. They all come from Spain. Puerto Ricans are a mixture of the Africans that were brought there and the Taino Indians and the Spaniards. So most Puerto Ricans, except for the ones that are full Negro, have some Spanish ancestry, or because the Taino Indians were pretty much wiped out. I mean, there may be a few like her. I think she's going to claim to have about 7% Taino, but they may have a small percentage. But most of the Puerto Ricans, specifically the ones that may look like her, the lighter ones, or the ones that's outright white, they are all from Spain. So the fact that this woman was trying to grift herself into thinking she was some type of Negro is amazing. But let's get it.
And my mother, so
A hush fell over the
it
audience.
was deeply disappointing. And it's deeply disappointing because my mother really identified as Puerto Rican. She was part of the civil rights movement, and she was deeply ingrained in Black culture, and identified.
No, you mean she was grifting into Black culture because she was, trying to create some type of name for herself, because that's what a lot of them will do. They will hitch themselves to what's popping, which was back then in the 60s. The whole thing was about, the civil rights movement, and Blacks were obviously spearheading that. So a lot of these, grifters were, trying to hitch their wagons to that. So your mother was no exception, but let's go.
Identified herself as Black for race, but Hispanic for ethnicity.
Okay.
But her race is white. She's European.
Yeah.
I know.
You see that foolery? So in other words, her mother was a Rachel Dolezal. That's what she's basically saying.
It's weird because when you look at her, my mother's blonde and she has light eyes.
Okay, so like he just said, her mom's a full white woman, but she wants to say that her mom was identifying with the Black experience. So her mom was a Rachel Dolezal before Rachel Dolezal, essentially.
And my whole family looks like that. So I think inside, I sort of knew that this was my history, and that's probably why I didn't want to do it. And I spoke to my mom about it. She was deeply disappointed. She actually cried about it. And then she said, maybe that's why I have been so connected to Black culture, because it's an atonement in my spirit. And I received that. I also found out that, and there were slaves on both.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's so funny, Israel and Shadow? They be sleeping on the Bible, but there's so many things that have already come true. It's amazing how they, dismiss it. But again, that's a whole nother discussion. But let's get some more of this grifting going on.
Both sides of her family, mothers and fathers. But we are 7% indigenous Puerto Rican, Taino.
7%, huh? So she's slapping herself on the back for being 7% Taino. Again, this woman's pretty much a European, masquerading herself as a black woman. She's talking all this black stuff, grifting, trying to shame actual black men for not supporting another non-black woman. So, I mean, the irony of that is just in the gall of that is just outrageous. But this is crazy. But these are the type of fools that you got running around because you don't have a standard. And this type of chicanery could go on for as long as it did.
So I'm proud of that. And then I also...
How come she ain't proud of her white? She's proud of some little 7% Taino Indian that was wiped out mostly. So she's not proud of her Spanish conquistador relatives. This is kind of funny.
Found out about my father's family, his family, all slaves, then sharecroppers. But once they got their freedom, one of my ancestors, his name is Dean Cummings, and we use, my maiden name is Cummings, and we use the name Dean in our family. A lot of cousins are named Dean.
And her father side, I think she's kind of glossing over some stuff too, because I'm going to show the actual, let me get that. Her actual, I think it was her grandfather, somebody, he's just a straight up non-black dude. So let me see if I can pull that up. Hold on. Let me get that real quick. Because I actually got the clip of her when she did her ancestry. And let me pull that up.
And one showed just how tough Virginia's childhood actually was, revealing that she lost 3 of her siblings before her 10th birthday, and then, in quick succession, saw both her mother and her father pass away.
It's horrible. It's just one thing after another for her. Just one thing after another.
Yeah.
It makes a lot more sense now that she refused to go back. I mean, I invited her several times. Nanny, come. I used to call her Nanny. Nanny, come to Puerto Rico. I'll put you up at the Ritz. It'll be great. No desire.
Yeah.
Zero. And no desire to talk about her time there, really, either.
Well, all of this loss occurred before the age of 12.
Yeah, I can't imagine it, actually. I can't imagine that.
Perhaps unsurprisingly, the tragedy of Virginia's youth gave way to an adulthood that was filled with challenges. She had a very brief relationship with Sonny's grandfather, a man named Augusto Beza Perez, before settling into a solitary life.
Now look at that. I think that was her great-grandfather. Somebody, look at this. This is a totally non-black man. So, yeah.
Augusto Beza Perez, before settling into a solitary life in New York City. And while it was easy to understand why Virginia had turned her back on the past, in doing so, she left Sonny knowing almost nothing about her deeper roots. We set out to restore what had been lost.
So this is when she's going to discover that she actually comes from slaveholders. Let me fast forward a little bit.
Of him?
No.
Well, Fermin Beza, you just met your great-great-great-grandfather.
Wow.
Third great-grandfather.
I've never heard the name, no.
Fermin died in Aguadilla at the age of 63, which means he was born 200 years ago minus 1 year. He was born in 1824.
Wow.
Did you know that you had such deep roots in Aguadilla?
No. I know when my mom learned that her father was in Aguadilla. But other than that, no. I mean, I've been there, but I didn't know the roots went back that far.
I guess I skipped that part, but yeah, I believe I do have another clip with it. But anyway, you guys get the idea. I showed it already, where she herself admitted of her actual ancestry. But let me show you guys something, because the bottom line is this. Just like when you start talking about this standard that we've been establishing, right? You ever notice that there's such an issue just like we showed with the Cookie Monster, him having an issue with that biracial woman, dating white men and so forth, because he's in all his Pan-African rhetoric, he still doesn't have a standard for an actual black person. And that's the reason why I developed the 80% rule, 80% to black parents, for black grandparents. And you ever notice that it's such an issue with black people trying to be able to know how to deal with people who have mixed race or exotical or whatever you want to call it, or biracial. But when it comes to Puerto Ricans, like using this Sunny Hostin as an example, there's a clear distinction. Most black people can make a distinction between themselves and Puerto Ricans. And a Puerto Rican person is essentially a multiracial person. They have black in them too. In fact, let me give you an example. This Puerto Rican woman right here. There are actual people walking around calling themselves black that actually have her same genetic makeup. But let me show you.
I'm still shook. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Natalia, and I know %.
Yeah, I'm gonna fast forward to her results. Now, this is a straight up Puerto Rican, but I'm just using this as an example, right?
Because I'm just excited to see what's gonna happen here. Okay. All right. So, I'm like so extra right now. This is crazy. Okay. So it says Natalia Garcia, obviously 100% me, and European.
Oh, so I guess you're on the same wavelength, huh? So you go around watching those genetic videos too, Israel. Salute. But anyway, check this out, and I want to make a point. So let me get this.
European, I'm 37.6% overall. That's crazy.
Okay, so she's what? She says she's like what, 30-something% European?
So after European, it breaks it down into like subgenres. And so it says Southern European, 31.7%. And it says Southern Europe, including the Iberian, Italian, and Balkan peninsulas, as well as the island of Malta, is a region defined in great part by the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean has provided transportation routes, keeping these regions connected culturally and genetically. So I'm assuming that means that Southern European is just a blend of people from all of those different areas. It's not really all that clear. Oh, this is cool. It says, Natalia, your DNA suggests that 21.8% of your ancestry is Spanish and Portuguese. Spanish, I figured. Obviously, the Spanish language and everything comes from Spain.
Yeah, Shadow Zulu, is that the one you did? Because I believe that's it. Yeah, I think that's the title of the video too. Yeah, she got it from 23andMe. Yeah. So it sounds like you're familiar with it, Shadow.
It says, Spain is a possible match, and Spain has 19 administrative regions, and we found the strongest evidence of your ancestry in the following 7 regions: Galicia, Canary Islands, Castile and Leon, Andalusia, La Rioja, Catalonia, which is where I was, so I guess I was with my people in Barcelona, and the
Yeah, Shadow, hers is from 23andMe too. So yeah, that's why you recognize it. Yeah. I'm sure your results were a lot different though.
community of Madrid, which is interesting. Then it says broadly Southern European, 9.9%. Southern Europe, including...
Yeah, they give you, it's basically rough estimates. It only checks a certain markers, but overall, you'll get at least a general idea. That's the point. And what I look at it for is just the percentages of black, right? So it does give you a pretty accurate assessment of that, but it does deviate. Like if you go between different places, you may see a deviation of different percentages, but that's to be expected, because there's no exact science, but I think it is useful for the type of discussions that we have, but let's go.
The Iberian, Italian, and Balkan peninsulas, as well as the island of Malta as a region. That's what I just read. Broadly, Southern European DNA matches several specific populations and is difficult to assign to just one. I didn't really learn anything from that, but okay. Next, it says Northwestern European, 3.4%.
Yeah,
Northeast is Finland, and as far as... Look at this.
Let's get down to her Africans, but I'm gonna make a point. That's the reason why I'm playing this, so hold on.
It says I'm 1.7% British, and Irish. Like with my people. So when I click on British and Irish, it doesn't break it down the way that it did 5%. Again, that was under the subgenre of Northwestern Europe, to let you know exactly. It says I'm 35.8% sub-Saharan African.
Okay, so this is a straight up Puerto Rican, right? She identifies ethnically as culturally, everything is a Puerto Rican, right? But this Puerto Rican is 30 something percent sub-Saharan African, right? You literally have people who are considered black in America that have less than that. So I find it very interesting that culturally, a lot of black people can make a distinction. They'll see her and they would say, "Hey, you're not black. You know, you're Puerto Rican." I've heard black people numerous times make a clear distinction between, because for some reason, you know, Puerto Ricans, specifically in New York, and a lot of my New York people know this, like Israel Online, you from New York. What borough are you from, Israel? Because I know, like in the Bronx, it's really heavy like that, where you have a lot of those Puerto Ricans, they'll just straight up call themselves black, right? So Israel, I'm sure, can attest to that. Some of the other New Yorkers in the building. But I know in other places, like where I'm from, in Chicago, there's a very clear distinction. Like in New York, it may have been more of a cultural thing, you know, like I said, specifically like up in the Bronx and so forth. But you have a Puerto Rican community where I'm from, and it's a very clear distinction, even though you got some people who are Puerto Rican that, you know, some people might think were black. But you have a clear line and there's a clear distinction. And then what Shadow says, yes, yeah, mine came back 97.8 African. Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty, I think, you know, pretty much accurate. And if you go across the board, you'll probably get those same type of percentages. And Iman says Brooklyn. Iman, you from Brooklyn? So I wonder where Israel's from. I know Israel's from New York too. I don't know which borough. But anyway, you know, there's always this clear distinction that black people are able to make between them and Puerto Ricans, even though Puerto Ricans, some of them like her, have a significant, although it doesn't fit our metric when it comes to defining a black person, because like I said, she's only 30% black. You have to be 80% or more. So she's not black, but at the same time, there are people who are being considered black that, you know, like Kamala, for example, by some people. I think more and more now people are starting to wake up from that, but we have these percentages. But if they're from a different culture like her, they can make a clear distinction. But when they're, you know, raised, and that's kind of, we're talking about this whole FBA thing, when they're born and raised in America, somehow, even though they're only 20-30% black, you'll still have black people claiming them, which I find very ironic, because by that token, you know, this woman would be considered black too if they're going to use that weak ass standard. That's basically the one drop rule remixed. But the point is, Puerto Ricans are, to me, a very good template on how black people should be dealing with these, whether it's the exotical groups or these mixed groups, in terms of making a clear distinction. I'm not saying there needs to be any type of animosity, but there should be a clear distinction, because you're dealing with a whole nother group. And it is very interesting that black people have no problem making a distinction between themselves and Puerto Ricans, even though some of those Puerto Ricans have the same type of percentages as some of the multiracial people that are considered black. So it's very interesting. And then Israel says, I'm back and forth from Queens to Long Island. Okay, cool. So he's from Queens and Long Island. All right. But you know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Bronx, right? Because I know up in the Bronx, you have that whole thing about kind of cross-cultural things going on between blacks and Puerto Ricans. It may be Brooklyn too. Like Iman can probably attest to that if he's from Brooklyn. But in New York, that's kind of a unique culture. Other places in the country, it doesn't quite work like that. Like where I'm from is a clear distinction between, you know, all these different communities, right? Whether it's Mexican or these other Hispanic communities, and that includes the Puerto Rican community. There's a clear distinction. You have black neighborhoods and you got the Puerto Rican neighborhoods, right? So it's amazing. But I've heard, like I said earlier, I've heard so many black people make a clear distinction whether it be on an academic level, whether it be on a social economic level, they're able to make a clear distinction between themselves and Puerto Ricans. Even in something, I'm gonna go out in the weeds real quick, but even in like battle rap, I'm gonna show a quick example of that. Because you know how we do over here, we got all kinds of, you know, different ways to prove our point. I'm gonna show you this little clip about this battle rap back in the day that I remembered. I don't watch battle rap like I used to, but this right here was a good example of a black man telling this Puerto Rican cat, because this one Puerto Rican cat would always be trying to use the N-word and be calling himself black, and this black dude was going to check him. And I'm just showing this to illustrate in a more you know, street way or a more grimy way, but he's going to basically make the point. So yeah, now it wasn't Arsenal, but yeah, it's one of his homeboys, you know, Shotgun Suge. Oh, Umar, he know the battle rappers. Okay, that's not Arsenal. It's his homeboy though, because I think they were in part of that Jersey crew. But I'm gonna show you. It's just a quick clip, but I'm gonna show you what this black guy told this Puerto Rican dude who was always calling himself black. And I think after this, that Puerto Rican dude stopped calling himself black. Oh yeah, so yeah, he know. See, that's why y'all come to the Night Riders, because you don't get this nowhere else, boy. We can talk academic, we can break it to the streets too. But he said, Shadow laughing. But yeah, I'm gonna go and play this real quick. But listen to what he told him. But this is the type of distinctions that black people can make when it comes to Puerto Ricans. But some of those Puerto Ricans are still mixed, but they know how to distinguish themselves. But they have a problem distinguishing themselves from, you know, mixed race or biracial people. But let's get it.
Play. I ain't grading the paper when you see red on an essay. Like, who the fuck? Hold on. I'm not playing. Like, who the fuck? Hold up. Yo.
That's Arsenal in the background though. I'm sure you recognize him, but let's go. Oh, the volume was low? Let me see. I think that's the way we clipped it. It was the volume was kind of low. Yeah, I think that's the loudest I can get it. But hopefully you can hear it. It's just a short clip, but I just wanted you to, I thought maybe it was louder, but I'll just play the rest of it.
Like who the fuck you think you is? Baby Joker? He thought he was black till he started losing his color like Sammy Sosa. You ain't black, motherfucker, I'm black. You brown, you poppy, nigga. You try to be king of the ring, you gonna leave Nook looking like Rocky, nigga.
But you see, wait, so I'm gonna play that part again, because this dude, this Puerto Rican cat kept calling himself black. He was trying to use the N-word, and he just checked him. He G-checked him on calling himself black. I'm gonna play that part again. Hopefully y'all can hear it, but I think this is as loud as I can get it. He said, damn, son, I ain't heard this one. Yeah, he went in on him, but yeah, I'm going to play that a little again. And, yeah, hold on.
Hold up. Yo. Like who the fuck you think you is? Baby Joker? He thought he was black till he started losing his color like Sammy Sosa. You ain't black, motherfucker, I'm black. You brown, you poppy, nigga. You try to be king of the ring, you gonna leave Nook looking like Rocky, nigga. ASAP. Diddy could take that. These potholes where his face at. It's your death.
I was muted. Yeah. I hope you guys heard that. Look at Israel in there snapping. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to illustrate a point. You see the clear distinction, right? That's the type of distinctions that black people can make when it comes to Puerto Ricans and stuff like that. Now, that's the grimy way of showing it, but I just wanted to illustrate the point. So when it comes to solutions, when it comes to this whole problem with, you know, these multiracial people, and again, this doesn't have to be animosity. Like that was more aggressive because it was battle rap, but it's just, you know, making a clear distinction. So why is it that black people can't use the same type of distinctions when it comes to, you know, people like Kamala, multiracial people, biracial people say, listen, you're not black, you know, we could still be cool, but what we got going on over here is separate from what you got going on. It's as simple as that. So, you know, in closing, I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that the bottom line with this whole thing, and the reason why I wanted to do this broadcast, was to illustrate the fact that when you got someone like Kamala, who's a quote exotical, being exposed by a unambiguous black woman like Candace, it's setting a precedent, because now that's an example of black people putting up a gate. But at the same time, I'm going to say this briefly, when it comes to Candace, the standard applies to her because she, as I mentioned before, is essentially a defector. She decided to go and take herself and her resources or whatever to a whole nother community. If somebody asked a question about her children are not black too. For all the things that she did to expose Kamala not being black, her children are not black. Her legacy is not black. And it's just like what happened to some of the dynasties in Egypt. You know, over time, it may have started out black, but then you had people such as Cleopatra, that people still to this day, Negroes, still try to claim she's black. No, she's not. Nefertiti and Queen T and them were black, but Cleopatra was not, because she was the descendant of the Greeks, under one of Alexander's generals. She was a descendant of that line. But what happened, in a lot of the reason why a lot of the Egyptian dynasties were taken over is because you had that whitening effect. And so Umar, of all people, you heard what he said earlier when he was talking to the biracial woman, talking about, yeah, he wanted to take black people back to their ancient glory. Well, in that sense, then we can agree, because I think that that's what black people need to do. But at the same time, Umar, the Cookie Monster, doesn't understand that by bringing in people who are essentially non-black, you're doing the same thing that destroyed those ancient dynasties that you're talking about, because they came in and then, you know, a lot of them were mixed race, and then over time they phased out a lot of the indigenous black rulers. That's how it happened. But this stupid ass Prince of Pan Pizza cannot understand, for all his intelligence and all of his education, that that's the very thing that undermined those dynasties that he claims he wants to bring back. So it's amazing. But at any rate, that is pretty much the solution when it comes to rules of engagement. You have to, just like how black people don't have any issues or difficulty distinguishing themselves from groups like Puerto Ricans, they should understand that Puerto Ricans are of the same or similar genetic makeup of some of the biracial or multiracial or multi-generationally mixed people that they claim is black. So if you can put up a gate between you and Puerto Ricans, you should be able to do that with them. So that's the bottom line. Shadow Zulu says, I remember when Murder Mook versus Loaded Lust came out and the battle rap exploded more into mainstream on Smack. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I wanted to use an example that I figured some of you guys, I know a lot of you guys from New York, that you could relate to it. So I'm glad you guys, you know, got that reference, and y'all knew, you know, even some of the people. So shout out to y'all, because I haven't been keeping up with it like I used to. But yeah, I'm glad you guys got my point, and that's cool. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it. I think once again we had another fire one. You know, I think that this is just the beginning of what needs to happen. You know, you got, you know, Kamala being exposed, and you know, it's a long time coming, because for so many years Negroes didn't have a standard. They just allow anybody to come around them talking about they black, and they've been suffering for it, you know. So yeah, it's just unfortunate, but that's what the downfall has been since time immemorial, and that's one of the reasons why Negroes are in the situation they are in today. So at any rate, yeah, we're going to call it a day. Salute to everybody in the building. Thank you for showing up and showing out once again. Yeah, like you said, Iman's a very good show. I appreciate you once again, all you guys who always are in the building. always good to see you, and everybody who's going to watch the playback, salute to you. And yeah, we're going to get it in as per usual next week. We have another fire broadcast. You know, I think next week, guys, I'm going to have another Manalytics. We're probably going to get into the Knight Rider philosophy and, you know, just how we live as Sigmas. And I think it's going to be fire as well. So you don't want to miss next week's broadcast as well. So at any rate, we're going to end in our traditional way, the way we always do. We're not just a broadcast. We're a squadcast. It's a very big difference. Mission complete. Over and out.